for photography tips, inspiration, ideas, or anything about film? Well, you've come to the right place. Born in Film and Photo Nation present Film Factor Podcast. Follow us on our social platforms at Born in Film on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Sings the song, yeah. Wait, 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 wait. He lives in you.
bring you now to your regularly scheduled program.
When your camera is made by Kodak, you know it's good.
Tonight, I'd like to show you one of the world's great cameras.
Tonight I'd like to show you a new idea in picture taking.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up.
I see the picture in my mind's eye, and I give it to you as the equivalent of what I saw and felt.
We choose to go to the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We will never forget that we are analog human beings.
My job is to be authentic.
We all love stories. We're born for them.
Coming to you live from Sharpbox Studios in Manila, Philippines.
Mass at 4 a.m. for 9 straight days.
Singing carols in Tagalog, or well, trying to.
Enjoying festive treats such as puto bongbong and bibingka.
Picking out parols,
which have been on sale since September. Yep, that's the Philippines for you. Christmas from September to January pretty much.
You know the season starts once you hear Jose Marie Chan songs everywhere. It seems like more than any other holiday, Filipinos just absolutely love Christmas. Not just because of the vibrant lights,
the get-together with loved ones, the amazing food that is served, the conversations and laughs along the way, or even the generous gifts.
All of these play their part in creating amazing memories every single year.
Above all, Filipinos just love to give love.
Maligayang Pasko sa inyong lahat.
Welcome back to Film Factor Podcast. My name is Franz, and tonight we are back with Born in Film on air. But before we begin, again, we are live simulcast on Facebook Live, IGTV, and YouTube. So for our friends who are there, happy Sunday. Again, our hotline is now active. Don't forget to call us on Viber. It's at 63921-408-8898 or scan this QR code. We will be accepting questions and greetings later for our guests. Also, we have a new feature tonight on the podcast. Which is the live polls, where you can vote live on the podcast. If you can see it on top of my screen, there. It's going up. And again, you can vote. The question is, will commercial photography change or revert back to normal after this pandemic? So again, all you need to do is scan the QR code and it will bring you to the website. Again, we would like to thank each of you for being a huge part of this passionate community. We now have 8,300 members across 101 countries. We are now only 1,700 away to our next goal, which is 10,000 members worldwide. So if you want to join, just join Photo Nation. Everyone is welcome. Not too long ago, began a series of live podcasts within Photo Nation. The very first one we aired on April 5, where we talked about the importance of printing with Alvin Lee. From there, we met photographers like Australian marine life photographer Darren Ju from the Tales by Light series on Netflix, and Nikola Kostek, a passionate photographer from Belgrade, Serbia. We jumped from landscape photography with Fitz Bore to the life of expat photographers with Arnold Apostol in Singapore. We also talked about women and the things they go through as photographers with Alex Ongkal, a Filipino photojournalist, Imbal Christine, a concept photographer from Israel, and Tran Hong Young, a Vietnamese nude photographer. All of these episodes can be seen on both our YouTube and Facebook page. They're also on Spotify. Just search for Film Factor Podcast. New episodes are updated every Monday afternoon, Manila time, and early morning, Eastern and Pacific US time, as well as afternoon, European time. If you miss an episode, do check them out later. We have replays every Monday. A lot of photographers lost their jobs during this pandemic, and knowing this firsthand, photographers from different fields had to adapt. They say that one of the most resilient industries that photographers can venture into is commercial photography. Economies have fallen, but still, commercial photography is here to stay. Photographers who are at the forefront of commercial advertising photography will be joining us tonight, where we'll talk about the business of photography. Here we go.
Portraits have always been what's interested me.
I'm happy to greet this gathering of motion picture engineers.
Large part of photography is sharing, taking what you see and sharing it with others.
Don't be afraid, get out there, shoot some film. I think Photo Nation can be a catalyst.
Photography is united.
Again, we're a live simulcast on Facebook Live, IGTV, and YouTube, so don't forget to follow the page, join Photo Nation, and hit subscribe. Joining us tonight are individuals who are at the forefront of commercial photography. We have Ms. Harvey Chua, the co-founder of AdPhoto, together with Mr. Allan Mendez, who specializes in light painting, and Mr. Kim Diaz, a commercial studio photographer and the founder of Sharpbox. Hold on, let me show you on screen. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I think you're just unmuted. Good evening. Hi, Miss Harvey.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good.
We're doing
Good
great.
morning from California.
Hi. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. And just to begin, our first question is, can you please introduce yourselves, what you do, and why commercial why commercial photography for you? Maybe we can begin with Miss Harvey Chua.
Okay, I manage AdPhoto, which is an advertising photography studio which started in 1973. And we got into commercial photography because my husband, who was not my husband then, he said, I just want to shoot to take care of everything else. So I had to take care of the business, the sales, marketing, finance, HR, kami lang naman dalawa. So that's how we started. We started with 1,000 pesos as capital and one Nicormat camera with zoom lens. We did not have any fixed lenses, any fancy stuff, no lights, nothing. So we started really with the smallest, humblest way.
Wow.
That's how, right now we're 47 years old.
Wow.
and we're doing okay. Thank you.
Amazing intro from Miss Harvey. Kim, maybe you can do your intro. Go ahead.
Hi guys, my name is Kim Diaz. I'm a commercial product and food photographer. Ngayon, nag-start akong mag-photography nung college ako. I'm a graphic artist first before I became a photographer. And I love everything about photography. I love manipulating photos. Feeling ko, since graphic artist ako, kaya kong gawin yung mga naiisip ko. Kaya, ayun, sobrang nagsuot ko yung commercial product photography.
Great. And then finally, Sir Allan, go ahead.
Good morning from California. My name is
Morning.
Allan. I'm based out here in San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm one of the original members of the DPP Forum in the Philippines. We are from the San Francisco chapter. Shout out to Sir Ali Reyes if he's there.
I think he's watching right now.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yes,
Sir Ali. Shout out to you. He is our leader here. He's our leader here in San Francisco, and he always visited us here whenever he visit USA. And first, my background is electronics, and by profession, I'm an automotive electrical specialist. I work on law enforcement vehicles such as SWAT rescue vehicles,
Wow.
police cars, highway patrol, that government stuff. And as a freelancer, I've done weddings, beauty headshots, and models portfolio. Then I transitioned to commercial photography and photograph for car restyling shops, real estate brokers, locally owned restaurants, independent coffee brands. And I transitioned to commercial photography because, well, the money is good and I make lasting business relationship with clients who always give me work. So,
Amazing. And maybe we can begin with the photographers tonight. Product photography is actually seen as something photographers can earn now, especially that everyone is locked at home. And we've been actually seeing countless new home studios popping up. To make it short, there's a huge demand in your field, and especially in food photography. What can you say about this, and especially now that the holidays are coming up? Maybe you can begin with Kim, since you do lots of food photography shots.
Yeah, sobrang daming nag-venture ngayon sa product and food photography since um, medyo na medyo mahina ang events photography industry. Lahat ngayon ng mga photographers, no choice sila. Kaya pupunta sila ngayon sa product and food photography. Okay naman yun, kaso nga lang minsan, since nanggaling sila sa event photography, minsan nga lang, hindi nila alam yung correct way ng pagbigay ng rate since they're new to the industry. Kaya, ayun, sana mas maayos pa yung mga rate na binibigay ngayon ng mga photographers.
Okay, great. Great insight from Kim. And Sir Allan, what about you? What about there in the US?
Yeah, over here, there's
Go ahead.
yeah.
In terms
Yeah, suddenly there was a big demand for food photographers, professionally captured food photos, partly because of the dine-in restriction. It's like everything shut down. The dine-in is not allowed anymore, and so everything turned to online ordering. I remember the time when I would go to a restaurant and I would offer them my service, and they would say, "Oh, we take pictures with our phone." So, and then during lockdown, they were like, all of a sudden, everybody wants a professionally shot food photos. But during that lockdown, I was so concerned about my safety, so I've been declining commercial shoots. I've declined 18 restaurant shoots. At that time I just want to stay home. And then um fortunately, I received a job offer from my Toyota dealer, and that's what I do right now during the pandemic. And it enabled me to reboot and refocus my goal as a commercial photographer. I kind of see the pandemic as a blessing in disguise, at least in my part. And the lockdown gave me the time to, as you mentioned, I specialize in light painting. Well, during the lockdown, that gave me the time to take Harold's one-on-one workshop. And so,
Who I
yeah,
think is
that's
actually
that's
watching
what happened
tonight.
to me.
Who I think is
Yes,
also
he's
watching.
watching right now
Oh,
on
that's
YouTube.
nice.
Shout out to Sir
So,
yeah.
Sir Harold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And just to talk about in terms of in a bigger perspective, maybe we can ask Miss Harvey about this. Miss Harvey, AdPhoto is actually seen as one of the, yun nga, kumbaga they call AdPhoto as one of the institutions in advertising photography here in the Philippines. How is your business doing with the current pandemic?
Unbelievable. Okay, now I learned this from, that's not an original answer from me. I learned that actually in 1986 because I bought some cassette tapes, cassette pa nung araw, cassette, from a motivational speaker for business. And he said, when there's a crisis, when there's an economic slump or whatever downturn, he said, if you're being asked how your business, you don't spill all the woes and sad stories. You say unbelievable. Then it's up to them to decide or to imagine whether you meant unbelievably good or unbelievably bad. So, but we managed because what we did was, of course, when the lockdown started and we didn't know what to do, but when they started introducing all these PPEs, and we had to equip our studio with all the protective devices, all the dividers, so my studio manager told me that she ordered a bunny suit for me. I said, a bunny suit? You want me to look like Bugs Bunny? Or do you want me to look like a Playboy bunny? Which she didn't know because she's too young for a Playboy. So we've managed. We're back. We're shooting. We're not shooting as much because of the time also we need in order to disinfect, before and after. But we have enough work, and we learn from previous experiences because our company is older than you guys. And
it is.
Right, at 47. And I remember in 1983, after Ninoy Aquino was assassinated, we did some critical thinking, and we asked what industries would continue to prosper even when the economy was down. And I thought about it, food and pharmaceuticals. So I chased after food companies, and we renovated our studio kitchen. But so that went well. But the pharmaceutical companies didn't, while they were prosperous, it didn't translate into profits for us because they didn't really need to advertise. So, but then I met a client who said, when the economy is down, their sales go up. I said, really? Why is that? Because their products were makeup. And they said, when the economy is down, women get depressed, so they buy makeup. So I said, okay, if makeup it is for women when the economy is down and they're depressed, what is it for men? And we arrived at an answer, gin. So I went after the cosmetic firms, and I ran after, by run, I mean marketing and sales. And I ran after the gin company here, and we did manage to survive. We're still here. We've gone through all the different crises. But this is the first time, of course, that we're facing a pandemic. First time, like everybody else.
Amazing. What a great strategy from Miss Harvey Chua. So, Miss Harvey, in terms of opportunity for photographers who want to somehow pursue commercial photography, do you think it's a good time to start?
Anytime is a good time. Like I said, we started AdPhoto 6 months after martial law was declared. It was not a good time as far as other people would say this is not the right time. But because we were starting, it was a good time for us because we were not overwhelmed by work and we had time to learn. And because John was very active in that, whatever he read in the papers, he wants to go and take pictures. So there was a flood in Central Luzon, he would go. There was a Japanese straggler in Lubang, Mindoro, he would go. And so he could combine commercial work with all the photojournalistic work that he wanted to do. So it worked well for us, and also because we were just two, and then we added one more employee. Our expenses were under control, and so we did manage. And because he was very super active and super masipag, he could work night and day without. He's not a morning person or a night person. He's morning and night person. He just loved photography. You just throw any photography work at him and he would do it. And so it was a very good time for us. I'm not saying it can be good for everyone, but there are some people who lost their jobs or who have reduced jobs. And so they go into product photography or food photography, because there are a lot of people. I heard a friend's mother made 1 million pesos in making and selling donuts or something like that. And so some people are benefiting from this and some people are not. So I guess it depends on how we face the challenges. We cannot control what comes our way, but we can control how we respond to these challenges.
Very well
and
said.
we're always saying that we always prepare for the worst, but you hope for the best.
Very well said from Miss Harvey. We actually have a comment, Miss Harvey. Dread Bayon says, makikita po talaga ang nagagawa ng experiences. Malalaman po yung sinasabi ni Mama Harvey. Wow. So they love what you said, Miss Harvey. And bringing this forward, let's try to get insights from our other guests tonight. Maybe we can ask this to Sir Allan and Kim. The question is, in terms of pursuing this field with technology that we have today, especially yun nga, most of the equipment now are more affordable than ever. Do you think it's a good time to start investing in equipment? Maybe you can begin with Kim.
Yes, I think it's a great time to start investing in like yung pinaka-basic equipment lang. Ang pinaka-importante lang is learn the basics. Huwag masyadong ma-caught up sa mga pinakabagong gears. Kahit sobrang mahal nung camera mo, kung hindi mo alam yung basics, kung hindi mo alam kung paano mag-light, mediocre pa rin yung gawa mo. Kaya kailangan skills, kailangan fundamentals first bago yung gears.
Oh, very well said. And then Sir Allan, what about you?
Yeah, I agree what Kim said about investing on gears that you need. I'm a big spender when it comes to photography education. I'm not into buying a lot of gears, but if I need something, I would buy it. And I would suggest, if other photographers who are coming from consumer photography to commercial photography, maybe reinvest some of it to re-educating yourself to the business of commercial photography, because it's important. Now we have hundreds of event photographers maybe transitioning to commercial, and maybe some of them doesn't have an idea how to price their service. So we have a lot of new photographers coming in with cheap prices, and that will really hurt the industry. During the lockdown, I thought about buying my very first full frame camera, full frame DSLR, and it was tempting because of the huge discounts going on. And I thought I need a new camera for building my wine and beverage portfolio, because that's the new industry I want to get into. Then I decided that maybe it's better if I reinvest the money by taking Harold Ross one-on-one workshop. Then it would equip me with more knowledge about light painting a bottle of wine. So that's what happened. I took Harold's one-on-one light painting workshop during lockdown, and he customized it for my needs, because, as I said, I specifically want to go to wine and beverage, using light painting as my main mode of lighting. And I know that I'm going to get the return on investment when I shoot for my first two clients. And I know that for sure. The new camera will be obsolete in a year, but the stuff that I learned from my workshop will with Harold will be with me for the rest of my life.
Amazing. Very well said from Sir Alan. We actually have a comment from Kathy CG. She says, use COVID downtime to practice, learn new skills, and build your portfolio. So when the lockdown
Exactly.
lifts, you're ready. So really good advices from our Sir
Yes.
Ali is actually watching now. He,
That's
he
my
says
daughter.
hi daw. Hi to Miss Harvey and
That's
Alan. Yeah.
yeah.
Hi,
So
Sir Ali.
we have Sir Ali. And down to our final question for this portion. We are for all of our guests. We are at a point where we don't know what the future will bring. Assuming that this pandemic ends very soon, do you think there will be lasting effects in your field? Why or why not? Maybe you can begin with Sir Alan. Go ahead.
Um, yeah, I think it will have a lasting change. It actually started to shift. There's a big shift from commercial photography studio.
Mm-mm.
I'm a member of American Society of Media Photographer organization, and
Mm-mm.
in that group website, there are news that's been posted by its members. And one of the thing that I read was, um, during the pandemic's lockdown, there were, especially in New York,
Mm-mm.
everything shut down. Even photography studio, they're not allowed to open and shoot. So a lot of big brands who need new images, um, they ended up going to CGI production company. So a lot
Mm.
of big brands are now shifting to using the CGI production versus photography, and for them it makes sense
Mm-mm.
because it's safer.
Mm.
You don't need to build a village to put together a project,
Yeah.
and and um, and the output possibilities are unlimited, and it costs a lot cheaper
Mm.
than a commercial studio photographer.
Mm.
This new challenge is one of the main reason why you will see that there are CGI training popping up all over the internet,
Mm.
and are somehow it's being adopted by many commercial photographers.
Mm.
And the learning curve was very steep,
Yep.
but they said that once you learn it, nothing is impossible anymore. Um, Suddenly, when you learn CGI, they said that you don't have to go on location. You don't have to travel. You just buy the location template, and then you just put it together and then shoot on green screen, and then
Mm.
you're done.
Mm. Mm.
So, so that's the challenge that I'm seeing that will last forever.
Mm.
Well, not forever, at least for a long time.
Mm.
So it's up to us photographers if we want to
Adapt.
to adapt to that changes, because we can do more, we can do better if we learn CGI and combine it with our
Yeah.
photography, and we have more, we can be more creative.
Mm.
I'm optimistic about what's gonna happen, but I'm also getting ready for the hard times.
Mm.
I think there has been a big shift in the marketplace. The money is still there,
Mm.
but it just moved somewhere. We just need to prepare to find it. It's always good to prepare, to be prepared for the worst.
Very
That's
well
what I
said.
think.
Great answer from Sir Alan. And then maybe we can ask Miss Harvey what she thinks about what the future will bring. Miss
Well,
Harvey.
nobody really knows, right?
Yeah.
And because this is the first time, I think, for our generation to face the pandemic, but there will always be opportunities. I remember listening to a homily in the 1980s when we were undergoing crisis also, and he said the Chinese character for crisis are two characters. One says danger, the other one says opportunity. So there is always opportunity with this danger, and I agree about getting a step ahead in learning, in combining different skills, because nowadays, even before the pandemic or with or without the pandemic, it's not enough that you're a better photographer. You have to do something that nobody else is doing, so that you will be sought after. It will be clients who will be running after you, and not the other way around. I also believe that as photographers, as artists, you're probably, well, I'm not saying all, but you're probably not business oriented because you're so involved with your craft and that's your passion. But I suggest that you get someone who is business oriented to partner with you. It could be a spouse, a girlfriend, it could be an employee, but it's not enough. For example, to be on cyberspace, you have to know how to get people to know about you and to seek you out. You have to learn about search engine optimization. You have to learn about marketing strategies for photographers. You join trade shows, search, and then it's not enough also that you have a portfolio on your laptop. I suggest that you do a printed portfolio, because the tactile experience that your prospective client will have in handling a printed portfolio will take you far greater. You can keep your portfolio and add to it, keep adding to it, of course, and you can present that on your laptop. But your main portfolio would be nice if it were printed, at least 11 by 14, because the experience is different. And then it's also, you should also learn about, you learn about marketing, and we talked about buying equipment earlier, and I have a friend who said, be on the leading, not the bleeding side of technology, because we could be overspending on equipment and it's not going to help. When we started, we had very little capital. We had 1,000 pesos. So we had no lights. John had only a 43 to 86 zoom lens. And so the art director asked me, how can John shoot our products if you don't have lights?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, but he has mastered available light. And so we improvised because we couldn't afford to buy electronic flash and soft boxes. So we bought a styrofoam ice chest and lined it with aluminum foil, put a hole at the bottom to insert your light, put tracing paper in front, and so you have diffuse light. And of course, sometimes we would shoot outside, we would shoot food, and when the clouds change, when it moved in the sky, we were running after the light. So it was fun because we were just starting and we did not have too much pressure about ROI. I didn't even know anything about ROI because I'm a poli-sci and social work graduate. So I didn't know that. And John certainly didn't care about the business side. So you have to learn why you're investing in such equipment, and what you can do, what you can improvise, the magic that you can do with your photography is certainly far more important than the equipment that you will buy that you don't know how to use.
Wow, very well, very good insights from Miss Harvey. And Kim, what about you?
Yes, I agree with Miss Harvey. Sobrang kailangan talaga. For me naman, um, masasuggest ko na for the photographers, humanap talaga sila ng niche nila. Kasi mahirap yung all over the place ka. Maganda yung meron ka lang, mag-focus ka lang sa isang bagay para mas mag-excel ka doon, para mas ma-specialize mo. Kaya yun, feeling ko rin na mas magiging new normal na to in the future kasi kahit sabihin natin na tapos na yung pandemic, yung product photography and food photography, since nakita naman ng mga tao na kaya naman na ipadala na lang sa mga home studios yung mga products nila, tapos then i-shoot, feeling ko mag-carry on yun kahit tapos na yung pandemic.
Wow, really good answer from King. And then, on that note, we will take a short break and be back with the one and only Miss Harvey Chua and all our other guests. So, just stick around. Mabilis lang to. We'll take a quick break.
We are a proud generation of visual storytellers, young and old alike, across all gender, beyond ethnicity, thriving in an online community. Built in the Philippines for the world. From the streets of Intramuros to the ringing bells of Chalon-sur-Saône, atop the great mountains of the Himalayas to the deeps of the Great Barrier Reef. Across Asia, Europe, Oceania, Africa, and the Americas, we will tell stories. We are Photo Nation, and the passion will live on.
One of the things that makes anything more enjoyable is being able to share it and being part of a community.
And quite frankly, what I get from Photo Nation is the fact that it's so non-judgmental.
They're so accepting of people, and I like that about Photo Nation, that people are willing to do that.
Photo Nation is hindi lang siya Filipino-based international group. Ano siya, one big happy family talaga siya.
Photo Nation is just one huge family.
I think probably the thing I like the most about Photo Nation is the fact that it's a supportive community, not there to score points.
Photo Nation, a platform that has no bashing.
It's you ask for help, you get help. The best part about Photo Nation is that everyone gets a chance to showcase their stuff. And if you ask, how did you get that? Can you teach me? The people respond and they're like, yeah, I'm actually learning things here.
We all started as a beginner, whether it's you're self-taught or you learn from masters or you learn from YouTube. We should be humble enough to know and to accept that people who are willing to learn, we have to appreciate that because it's actually promoting the hobby or the passion that we love, which is photography.
Malaki talaga yung impact sa pag-i-improve ko as a photographer kasi hindi lang basics yung tinuturo, parang yung advanced stuff na.
I'm always welcome na idea na magkaroon ng isang community ang mga photographers. Yung imbis na magbangayan, nagtutulungan.
It feels really nice to be part of Photo Nation because of how active the group is. A lot of inspiration for me to take in.
Ako in-expect na ganito yung welcome ng Photo Nation sa akin.
Napagsama-sama ng Photo Nation ang mga photographer, ano man ang lahi nila.
I've met a lot of people from different regions sa country natin. Mas na-widen yung network ko.
Masaya kasi nakakapag-share ka ng free.
Na mas manada oportunidad pati health chances na mas kita grande din mo thinking about things na noy aki na kalya ko nila.
Feel like I'm with a family that supports what I love and what I'm passionate about. Mararamdaman mo na may value yung gawa mo and mas nakikita mo na there is an opportunity for you to grow in this industry.
I joined Facebook a year ago, and you are the first group I joined. It's one big international family. It's great to be part of Photo Nation International.
Aside from the photography memes, pinakagusto na ako sa Photo Nation is activities like Photographer of the Week and sa mga Theme of the Week.
I was really happy to be featured as the Photographer of the Week. It really helps and boosts me.
One of the things I like about Photo Nation is the fact that it's not limited by any demographic, by any location, or by year.
Tuwang-tuwa ako kasi siyempre first time ko maging part ng isang member na may malaking community. Maganda experience ko.
Nakita na ko na daghang mga parehas na kong edad ang misulay og photography diri sa mo sa Bacolod.
Nakatabang siya ka mo-grow ko as a photographer. So, maka-inspire siya sa mga kasama ko na bagungan pa. Pag-join ako aning Photo Nation kay at first kay nakulbaan ko ato kay international siya.
Pag-ayat ko ken to Photo Nation ken dagiti na dumaduma nga aktibidades kay Domingo kas kuma dagiti pasalit nga pagka-recognizean dagiti kas kanyak nga adadamo i fotografiya.
Người ta thường hay nói rằng là khi mà bạn muốn đi thật là nhanh thì bạn đi một mình, nhưng mà khi mà bạn muốn đi xa thì bạn sẽ đi cùng với cả những người khác. Thành ra là khi mà tham gia vào những cái group chơi ảnh như là Photo Nation thì nó giúp mình là sẽ nhìn được thấy rất là nhiều bức ảnh đẹp, và qua đó thì và cũng được gặp rất nhiều là photographer giỏi. Thế thành ra là qua đó mình cũng được truyền cảm hứng hơn.
Kaso pa na kung mag-join ka ng community, uning manakit kung bakal inspiration.
Yung first impression ko sa Photo Nation, walang toxic sa group. Parang dito sa Photo Nation nakaka-proud kasi parang nabibigyan ng voice yung mga Filipino.
I think Photo Nation is there. It's kind of feel like home. Alam mong this group will help you grow.
Sobrang ganda ng podcast quality. Yun yung magagawa ng Pinoy. So nakaka-proud din.
Nagulat din po ako lalo kasi almost around the world kasali ko. Parang ang laki pong privilege sa akin na sa Philippines po nag-start tong Photo Nation.
Pinoy pride kasi nga, di ba? Doon yung group is sa Pilipinas. So parang kaya natin makisabay at maliit tayong bansa. I think Photo Nation parang for me, yung always active na ako.
Swerte gid ko kay naging part ko sa grupo ni. Hindi gid mo malimtan ang opportunity kag hindi ko gid pagsayahan.
Marami akong natutunan, lalo yung sa masterclass.
Photo Nation expanded my global knowledge, especially regarding Filipino photography. The Philippines seems to be pretty excited and actively pursuing the craft.
Feeling ko na welcome ka talaga kasi may mga toxic na mga tao. Nakakaugmat na nakaka-inspire sinda ng mga picture ninda na pinatawat, pinapairing sa mga bawat saro.
That worldwide photo walk, my gosh, I was surprised that many people showed up and it brought tears to my eyes. It was brilliant. There's so much love. I think that's the best way to say it. There's so much love in this community.
The truth is, this is merely a setback. This is merely one huge mountain that we have to traverse.
We're back with the one and only Miss Harvey Chua. So again, Let's begin with Miss Harvey Chua, who co-founded AdPhoto with her late husband, Sir John Chua. Established in 1973, AdPhoto is among the longest running and one of the most awarded advertising photography studios in the Philippines. Mrs. Chua used to teach business of photography and marketing strategies for photographers at the College of St. Benilde. She and her late husband, master photographer John Chua, believe that photographers in the industry should work for a common cause to help each other to succeed in the business of photography. Having that said, let's welcome Miss Harvey Chua back on screen. Hi, Miss Harvey.
Hi, thank you.
So, Miss Harvey, we love your story, especially yours and Sir John's love for the passion. So, for those who are new to photography, maybe you can share a bit of how you started AdPhoto and why you and Sir John ventured into this business.
Well, first of all, he volunteered to do a photography job for free for a friend who was getting married. And he had his camera and he made a mistake. He put his flash on B instead of X. In those days, that's what they were called. And nothing came out. So he said, I can't be a wedding photographer. there's no reshoot, right? So we went into advertising, but we, like I said earlier, we started with 1,000 pesos and we improvised. So I have a few pointers if you're starting your photography business now on a shoestring budget. If you don't have much money, start with whatever you've got and believe in what you have. So if a second-hand camera, which is what John had, if a second-hand camera is all you've got, don't knock it because it can still serve you. We always say, John would always say, dream big. And I would say, start small. And stick to it, work hard, save regularly. I listened to Susie Orman who said 15% of what you earn should be placed in your savings for your emergency fund or disaster fund, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's too shocking to call it disaster fund, so just call it emergency fund, 15%, and at least 8 months worth of pay. But look at this pandemic, is lasting us more than 8 months already. So this is, she said, at least. Okay, then stick to it, work hard. Like I said, separate your pocket. What you earn from your business is supposed to be different. If you had good collection, don't splurge on something personal. So separate your money. So to separate, you have to know your numbers. That means you understand the business side. If you, like I said earlier, if you are a photographer, and like John, he just said to me, I just want to shoot. You take care of everything else. And so that's what we did. And I would say, excuse me, maximize benefits from free sources, whether they're from friends, bookstores that allow you to read as much as you like, whether it's YouTube or any other sources. There are free sources out there, instructions, lessons. Maximize your use of them. Some professionals are also willing to share what they know as a way of paying back the community. I remember when we were starting, John wanted to learn about posterization. He approached a photographer who was showing off his works. And sabi sa kanya, he was told, that's a trade secret. So he came to me and said, I hope I never say that to another photographer who wants to learn. So all his life, he's always shared. He taught children with special needs photography, including blind children. We had a program called Photography Beyond Sight, and in Tagalog, Kulay sa Dilim. And we taught young we taught young men aerial photography, and they had an exhibit. And so it has always been for John a lot of sharing, because he believed that all our blessings came from God through photography. So photography was what he loved. And he would always say it's his passion. He just wants to shoot.
and I didn't have the passion for business. I finished political science and social work.
Yeah.
But I would explain when we would give talks on passion and profit in photography. John would talk about passion the whole morning, rah, rah, rah. Everybody wants to be a photographer. In the afternoon, I have to talk about business to photographers who were not interested. So I would start off by saying that, John's passion is photography, while me, I said I have no passion for numbers. I even took two in math when I was in college. That means repeat, di ba?
Yeah.
And but I said, but John's passion is photography, and my passion is John. So palakpakan na sila. They would clap, and then so they're all listening not to me. And then then I go back to my tips and I say, buy only what you need and can afford. Stop the temptation to keep up with photographers who flaunt their new and expensive equipment. Know the difference between your wants and your needs. Improvise, be creative, be resourceful. There are DIY there. You check out Google, you check out these things, low cost and no cost, but effective ways to promote your services. Just don't bring your cell phone to show your portfolio. One photographer was applying with us, was going to show me his portfolio on his cell phone. I said, I'm sorry, when you're ready to show me a real portfolio, you can come back. Okay, so just have respect for your own work. And my daughter would also say, celebrate your little victories. A grateful heart attracts many blessings. And reinvest, upgrade, and follow the Japanese who say kaizen. Even a 1% improvement today over yesterday and 1% tomorrow over today will put you on a path to the top of the mountains. So those are some of the tips. There's a lot more. Of course, you have to know your why. You have to know your passion.
Yeah.
And this is especially in business now with the pandemic. It is not. I've heard business speakers say this. It's not a race. It's a marathon. But I say it's more than a marathon. It's an obstacle course. You have to learn how to go over, under, through. And like in the 1992, I think, when we were having whole day brownouts in Manila, we couldn't shoot. So I was selling, we did photography for a client who was selling non-electric stoves. So I sold that also on the sideline. So you just have to be able to make whatever can help you to survive. You do, as long as it is not illegal or immoral, right? So there.
And
so those are some of the things, and just do the paperwork, do the business side, because you cannot just combine this. And if you decide to make it a business, then it is a business. It's not just a hobby. As a hobby, you can do whatever you want. You can spend whatever you want. When our photographers would come to us, Jeannie is our photographer now. She's been with us 28 years. And she would say, Harvey, can we buy this? And I say, okay, let me know your ROI. And they've learned what it means.
Yeah, and Miss Harvey, speaking of your some of the things that the viewers can read about, we actually have a link here to Miss Harvey's blog. You can check it out. Hold on. It's called Business of Photography. Hold on. There's a typo, but it's businessofphotography.wordpress.com.
No, wait, sorry.
Is that right?
It's Business of Photography book.
Book, sorry.
I had to put the book because the Business of Photography was already taken. The Business of Photography book.wordpress.com.
Okay,
I wrote all these tips because I wanted to share what we know, because as John shared what he knew in photography, I'm sharing, I continue to share what I know about the business of photography. I don't charge for this. It's something that it's our way of paying forward what we've also learned. And what we've learned from other photographers who helped us also get started, I remember being advised by a more senior photographer to increase our prices. And he said, don't worry, even if when you increase your prices, you may lose some clients, but you may find out that you're doing fewer jobs for more money. And wouldn't you want to earn one 10,000 pesos from 10 jobs rather than 10,000 jobs for 1 peso each? So there, and I did follow his advice, and indeed we were shooting less but earning more.
And also, Miss Harvey, di ba, I remember we were talking about this earlier. It's also very important to be specific in terms of providing your client some quotes. So maybe you can enlighten us with that.
Yes, it's not enough, for example, that you say day rate, because one photographer, after he finished all the industrial shots, the client said, "Oh, you're here on a day rate, so can you take ID pictures of all our employees?" And of course, he found that very insulting, but it was not specified in the contract. So I suggest that you find a way. We have what we call a shot list. It's not enough. When we started, I did not know how to cost. So we would shoot, and the traffic or the coordinator, the production person, would say to me, "How many rolls of films did you use?" I'd say 5. And he said, "Okay, that's 200 per roll that we'll pay you." It didn't matter how complicated it was. So I pleaded for a cost estimate to be approved before we did a project. And now we've learned also through the years to do what is called a shot list. It has a peg of what is to be done. Because if somebody asks you, can you do a product shot? What? Coffee. But if they don't show you what they mean, is that a bag of coffee? Is that coffee beans? Is that a can of coffee? Is that a cup of coffee? Is that with smoke? Is that with splash? So if you don't know, then how can you give a price? How can you say that's 5,000 pesos when you don't know? So you have to see it. They can sketch it, or they can clip from the internet, and they can show you what they like. An Excel spreadsheet would be good, because then when you go to one column for background, so that you can be efficient by doing all the product shots that are, let's say, against a white background or against a red background, instead of shifting back and forth. So the more efficient you can become, then that savings that you can pass on to your client. But unless you understand the extent, I once costed for a real estate project. I presented that spreadsheet, and I said, since we cannot be shooting outdoors between 11 or 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, because the sun is really straight up. I said, we'll do all the interior shots during these hours. And so I showed how efficiently we could do it. And we got the job because my client was very impressed with the spreadsheet. She said it was the first time that she ever saw a photographer present what is called a shot list, that indicated what was to be shot, what are the props, what's background, what all of these details. So it's very easy to do this way, and it's very easy to take away or add to the setups.
Also, Miss Harvey,
unless you know what the job assignment is, you really cannot get a price. I keep reading on social media, they say, what is your day rate? How much is product shot? Somebody called me, how much, ma'am, your product shots? And I was asking a lot of questions, and she said, why are you asking a lot of questions? I called up this photographer at this mall, and he just said 500 per product. So I said, I have to know what you're asking us to do.
And also, Miss Harvey, it's also very important to keep in mind about measurements, right? Maybe you can also enlighten us about that. Measurements in terms of size, quantity of the products that will be shot.
Yeah, because like one time we were told product shots. What they meant pala were all the products in different sizes and different packaging. It took us a whole day to do one setup. And then sometimes we can really make mistakes. I asked John how much should we charge to take a picture of a sleeping baby. Oh, sabi niya, madali lang yan. Asleep pala yung baby. And then it took us a whole day and we still didn't get it because every time the flash would go off, the baby would wake up and cry and there's no second shot for you. So what we expected to be a 10-minute shoot was a whole day shoot.
Yeah.
So we all need a fuller understanding of what the assignment is and what the expectations are. So if they have pegs, so much the better. Ask them for pegs. Ask them for what variations will you ask for, because some clients ask for 1,001 variations when all they need is one. And because it's digital, many photographers would say, it's okay. There's no, especially at the beginning of digital, when we were transitioning from film to digital. And many photographers would say, it's okay because there's no expense for film and processing. But the time and the extra equipment and the extra drives that you have to buy for this project. So we really need to understand fully what it involves in terms of time, in terms of equipment, because we need a full understanding of the project. You can give package discounts because by that, excuse me, by that time at least you know the full scope of the work. Minsan you think it's simple, but it can be very complicated.
And also, Miss Harvey,
Yes.
we've been seeing photographers, new photographers who are now diving into film photography and learning the craft. How does it make you feel, especially that you and Sir John jump-started your business at the height of that era? And also, how important is it to value the roots of photography, especially the principles in the traditional process?
Okay, let me just say that it's like you're asking us to go back to horse and carriage, and we cannot do that unless you're having a romantic ride around Rizal Park, right? But we cannot go back to that, especially in advertising. But I think that every photographer should experience the magic of doing film photography when you're processing your own film and then you don't know for half an hour, it's suspense whether something will come out of your shots. And then the magic of seeing a piece of paper come to life with your photograph, because as you see it developing, and sometimes when the contrast is not enough, you use your fingers to rub the developer on the paper. And John would say his perfume is fixer. that's the smell of the fixer.
Yes.
So we had a lot of fun then, and our first project was printing, and John didn't have clothesline to hang the big prints.
Yeah.
So he put them on the floor, but the floor pala was the kind of material that would stain. The next day, all his prints were stained. He had to redo them. So we've had, when my students ask me, there was one student who asked me, Miss Harvey, how come you know so much? I said, because I've made many, many mistakes. And from each mistake, I learn. And I learned about costing, I learned about production, I learned about all these things because we made mistakes. And as long as you're learning from your mistakes, that's the tuition fee that you paid is the mistake. You should then learn from it so that you can benefit from the mistake.
Very well said. And speaking of comment, let's try to read some of the comments that we've been getting. Sir Harold Ross actually commented. He says Miss Harvey is spot on. And also we have a comment from Kathy CG. She says compete with portfolio, not with price. And then we also have a comment from Joe Carlo Balbonten. He says the kind of person you want to sit in a room and talk all day about her stories. So, Miss Harvey, you now have lots of commenters with our live stream. And speaking of photos, let's try to dive in to the different photos that AdPhoto, Sir John, and Miss
Jeannie.
Jeannie was able to take. Hold on, let me
Let
just.
me just explain Jeannie.
Go ahead.
Jeannie was our client in 1991, and she had a shoot with John. She was the art director, and after the shoot, she said, "I will quit my job. I want to be a photographer. I want to join you." And I said, "No, Jeannie, because your boss is my client. I will lose a client." But that was September, and in January 1992, she came. First day of work, she came and she said, "I'm reporting for work." And I said, "No, Jeannie." And then she said, "No, I resigned in September. I did not come here directly so that my former boss would not be offended by my coming here." And then John said, "No, I don't want any girl to be, my assistant. How can you carry the equipment? See if you can carry that," he said. "See if you can carry that," and gave her, what do you call this? The power pack, which is very heavy.
Yeah.
And she lifted it and she said, "Okay, you're hired." And she has been wonderful. The reason why John was able to do a lot of projects like his cross-country flight in 1998 was because by that time, Jeannie could do whatever John could do, because John mentored everybody who came his way. And he told this Burmese photographer who assisted him also, he said, "So if you just give me what I ask for, you will remain a photographer's assistant. But if you would anticipate what I would need, then you would be a photographer." And now he is considered one of the top advertising photographers in Myanmar. And we have raised, we have helped the launch of the careers of many photographers in the Middle East and other countries. They came to us. There was one, I remember, one day, he took all of one day. He disappeared at 4:00 in the afternoon, and we said, "What happened to him?" I called up his house. Wala pang cellphone nung araw. And he said, just watching Sir John work makes me tired." So,
And we're showing some photos of Sir John right now. So go ahead, Miss Harvey. Maybe you can talk about more. Yeah. Go
And
ahead.
so, so he has tutored. We've encountered and we've tutored even houseboys to become photographers. There's one 6th grade lang siya. He finished only 6th grade, and he succeeded in a photographic career in the Middle East. So we don't choose. John would teach anybody who's interested in photography. He taught the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. So I told him, kulang na lang Marines, and you can commandeer, and the National Police, you can commandeer the armed forces of the Philippines. And then he taught his doctors. He would be in the hospital and he would gather his doctors and he would teach them how to do cell phone photography in the operating room. He would teach children. He would teach anybody who wanted to learn photography. That's how much he loved photography. So I would say that photography is his number one passion. I came 2, and then since flying, I became 3. And then there's Mali, the elephant at the zoo. I became number 4. And there's the special children, and I became number 5. So I'm falling in rank there. But, it was fun.
I think
John has a sense of humor that really carried us through.
Miss Harvey, I think your daughter says, "Mom, tell them about Zo."
Yeah, I just told them about Zo. Zo is Burmese, married to a French diplomat.
Okay.
And he came to us with his fancy jewelry and everything looking very expensive. And he said he wanted to learn photography. And John said, look at him and said, I cannot afford to hire you as an assistant, and you cannot afford to get me as a teacher. So we're even. So you work for free. And so he did. And he was late by one day because he said he had to buy a car for his wife, because he would not be taking his wife to work anymore because he'd be working with us. And really, he was a fantastic guy. He learned very quickly. He was very interested. He was very enthusiastic. And he became an advertising photographer here in Australia, and now he's in his home country. He has done travel photography books, and he's done advertising. He John always thought of him as really one of the best assistants he ever had, because he would anticipate. Because John would say, if I ask for a light, I don't have to ask for a light stand. I don't have to ask for a softbox. I don't have to ask for any of these accessories. And so that's what the lesson that he told Zo. Zo, if you just gave me what I asked for, you will remain an assistant. But if you will anticipate, and then what we learned from him, because it was good that we were learning from him as well. When we introduced him to a client and we said maybe he can do the minor work in the product shots, and they gave him an assignment, he would get the product beforehand. By the time the clients would come to his studio, he already had some test shots. This was days of film. He had these test shots to show. Whereas before we would, when the clients come, and then our photographers or the assistants would say, what are we doing today? And so we said, no more asking the client in the morning, what are we doing today? You should know that the night before or 2 days before. You prepare, you get everything prepared and ready for your client. You're ready to go by the time they come. John wanted to learn flying. He would leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to Pampanga to learn for a 15-minute flying class. He would travel 2 hours going there, 2 hours coming back. 9 o'clock in the morning, he's here ready to work. And he's prepared mentally as well as with all the equipment ready for. So even though he had a lot of interest, he had a lot of other activities, he never failed his client. And the first time I saw him cry, because the first time that we were asked to shoot a car in a studio, because he was shooting cars outdoors, and I asked John, how many setups can you do? Can you do 5 setups? And he said maybe one day. So they rented the studio for us, and they gave us a down payment. But we started at 10 in the morning. It was almost midnight, and he is still not happy with his first setup. And he was really in tears, literally in tears. And he said, return the down payment, reimburse for the rental. I cannot do this. I overestimated my capability. So I told the client, and the client said, no, don't let John give up. This is the best we've ever seen a local photographer do a car shoot. There's just one hot spot left. Please plead with him to stay. Imagine the client pleading. And so I told him, and so he talked to the staff. This was 1987, I think. He talked to the crew, and he said, do you want to rest now, because they're going to rent a studio for a few more days. And they said, sir, if you will continue, we will continue with you. If you will rest, we will rest with you. John said, well, if it's only one more hot spot, let's do it. So they went on. And before morning came, he was able to do 3 setups. They only had to rent it for one more night. And so that's how John is. That's the only time that he came close to giving up.
Wow, really good story from Miss Harvey. And we've actually
Maraming stories. They're in my heart, not necessarily in my head, because my 74-year-old head cannot hold the memories.
But your memories are very sharp, Miss Harvey. And speaking of photos or some of the projects that Sir John and Miss Jeannie have been doing, let's try to check out some of the photos that they've been able to do. Hold on.
Oh, wait. John's number one mantra is dream big.
Dream big, yeah.
Dream big. He always has big dreams, whether that's flying cross country in an ultralight or whether shooting. He says, "Do you want to have a free car?" I said, "Who's going to give you a free car?" No, write the letter this way. And we wrote the letter, and I did not offer it all 100% free. I charged for the prints, free lang yung photography. We got a free car to use, free maintenance, because if anything happened to the car, we just bring it back to the car company, and we come home with another car. Our neighbor thought we were rich. They didn't belong to us. They belong to General Motors.
And then, Miss Harvey, let's dive into the photos that
Okay.
Sir John has.
Which one are you showing?
The first one is actually the bulb. I think this is a bit famous.
He did that for phase 1, digital back, because they wanted something to print and to distribute in Europe, and they wanted it from here because when we were searching for a digital camera, a digital back in year 2000, and I wrote them an email, and they wrote back, and I said, how can we buy something that we've not seen or touched, and it's so expensive? And so they said, oh, we can swing by there. I said, no, PH, .com.ph is not Philadelphia, it's Philippines. And he said, oh, we're going to Japan, so it's okay, we'll swing by there. And I wasn't sure if we would buy, and I didn't want them to come just for us. So I invited 10 other photographers, who invited 20 other photographers, so we were more than 30. And he presented to us. It was very expensive. It was, guess how many megapixels in those days, in year 2000? 5 megapixels. How much? $20,000, 1 million pesos. And we poured all our life savings into getting it. One photographer told me, but Harvey, that's the cost of a van. But I said, yeah, but you have a van, we have a van, we cannot shoot with a van. So anyway, when we got it, we made a marketing blitz of the agencies to explain the advantages of going digital over film. And we had a slide presentation, audiovisual presentation. And we cited all the advantages. And at the end of our presentation, everybody was rah, rah, rah already. And so they said, will it cost us more to shoot digital? And John said no. I said yes at the same time. So we looked at each other. And to his credit, John said, oh, when it comes to costing, Harvey is my boss. So I went through the advantages again, and they said, we know, Harvey, how much more? So I knew I got them. And I said, just 15% more just to help us recover the cost of the equipment. The phase 1 predicted, computed our ROI within 1 year based on the films that we were using. And we got it done in 6 months because we had 3 photographers, 1 digital back. We had, of course, different cameras. But pag natapos yung 1 setup, and it would transfer to the other studio with another photographer while we're setting up. And John would say, Harvey, come down and make chika-chika with the client so they won't notice that the back is not there. It's with Jeannie and it's with another photographer. At the end of 6 months, we bought a second back. And at the end of another 6 months, we bought a third back. Wow. So everybody had a digital back to use. Amazing. But we did not know that that the return on investment will come very soon. So those were very bold steps that we made. But of course, we didn't know. But to me, at that time, we started with 1,000 pesos. So if we lost, we would have lost only the the earnings, the capital would still be intact because we started with 1,000, right? So that's how we thought of business.
Kumbaga, it's just kumbaga, it's your bravery or lakas ng loob to pursue this,
Lakas
no?
ng loob because we've seen how our growth spurts coincided with the most difficult times in the country. In 1983, 1986, well, before that, when we started. So all the challenges, all the hardships, all the economic uncertainties we faced. We knew how it was to go through the EDSA revolution, and before that, the assassination, and after that, the corruption charges against one president that kept all of us glued to the TV, and nobody was investing.
Yeah.
And then the no electricity. We bought. So I'm not I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that if you're in business, you have to reinvest in your business. That's why you have to separate your personal money from your business money, and you have to know the numbers and understand the numbers. I didn't know numbers. When I took my MBA, my first exam in accounting, I was crying. I told my teacher, "Sir, I'm going to flunk this course. I don't know what kind of test is this. There are no questions." In pala, you're supposed to compare the performance from one year versus another year. I did not know anything like that.
And yun, we really love the stories from Miss Harvey. And
Yeah, too many stories. Let's listen to the other guys.
Miss Harvey, your next photo, ito, the
Oh,
cars.
sorry. Mahabang kwento ko. You have
Okay
to
lang.
stop me.
It's fine, Miss Harvey. Go ahead. The next
No,
photo.
go ahead. What's your next photo?
The car in Fort Santiago.
Yeah, well, John was shooting cars and Jeannie is shooting cars. So that's not anything different from what we do. But at the one, not that one, but the other one that was done in front of Manila Cathedral. And the guard was stopping him from setting up because he said you're not allowed. And I think he got bribed with ice cream, about one cup of ice cream. We just befriended a guard and we chit chatted with him, and so he looked the other way when we shot.
Good. And then the next one, kasi
Hindi naman siguro major bribe yung one cup of ice cream, one cone of ice cream.
And Miss Harvey, Mr. Sir John Chua is also known for aerials. So maybe and in the rice terraces also. Maybe you can talk about that.
Well, he fell in love with Banawe in 1970. When I first met him, I said, "You're a photographer. You should go to Banawe." Now, for those who knew him, when I met him, he was very shy. He was monosyllabic. You ask questions, and I say, "Oh, you're a photographer." "Yes." "What kind of photography do you do?" "No answer." "You do product photography?" "Yes." "You shoot places?" "Yes." "You shoot products?" "You shoot people?" "No." Ganun lang siya. And he would not make chika-chika with clients. And then I introduced him to Banawe, and he fell in love with the place. And he would go every weekend. And that love affair with Banawe, until his last dying day, he was organizing something for them. So he fell in love with Banawe, and he would go. And then in 2008 naman, he met this young man with autism and taught him photography and got him his pictures published on the front page of the Inquirer. Wow. And John said, "I've been dreaming of having my picture on the front page." And here's, somebody with autism and whom I taught photography, and buti pa siya, he got ahead of me.
Nauna pa siya.
So, yeah, and John helped this guy to have a photo exhibit, and it changed the way people related to him. Before they would ignore him or they would avoid him. But after he had his story written about, then people would greet him and call him and, post for like that for him. And so, yeah, so we run an advocacy that's Facebook based. it has no formal organization. We don't raise any funds. It's all, we get sponsorships that are have to be consumed within the day or distributed to the children within the day. We taught photography to blind children, blind from birth. And we called it Photography Beyond Sight and Kulay sa Dilim. We've involved 1,000 photographers all over the Philippines. And no budget. No budget. We don't ask for funds.
Wow, really good story from Miss Harvey. And then Miss Harvey, maybe we can talk about now about the works of Miss Jeannie. The next one is this one.
What is this one?
The boys and photos.
Oh, all these splashes. The concept was that this paint material is so beautiful and so maybe fresh, or not against nature. So it's flowers, and then the other series is sea animals. And these are all different splashes. There's no Photoshop there except combining the shapes. There's no Photoshop in the lighting. There's no Photoshop in the shape of each element. They're just put together. That's the only Photoshop that was done there. And it won for Jeannie an award at Cannes and Spikes, and I think a couple of others. And so John would always say that a good teacher is exceeded by his student. And Jeannie certainly lives to that, because she can do whatever John was doing, and she could do more, because her training was really in fine arts. She was a fine arts graduate, and she was an art director of an ad agency when she joined us. So she follows the same tradition. She also mentors whoever is joining us.
And Miss Harvey, we have a photo here of AdPhoto, the studio in Bautista, and also a photo of Miss Jeannie and Sir John. So maybe you can talk about the family, ika nga, the family of AdPhoto. How close are you together?
How close are we to the AdPhoto family?
Yeah.
We have someone who has been working with us 40 years. She was 18 years old when she joined us.
Grabe.
I will not say who na lang, because I just revealed her age. Jeannie has been with us since 1992. That's 28 years. Our studio manager has been with us 18 years. So they stay. We eat together. We work together. We go out together. We're a small family. We're about 17 people now, 15. But we've always kept a family-like atmosphere here, because so para kayong family, nagmamahalan, but maybe not always nagkakasundo, right? That's the same as family. So that's the same with us. But we always work together, and we eat together, and we play together. Just before the lockdown, they all went to Batanes for an outing. I opted to stay behind because I have Parkinson's, and it's hard for me to travel that way.
Really good story from Miss Harvey. And Miss Harvey, for the final question, yun nga, we know Sir John, one of the wishes of Sir John was to see photographers unite or come together. Can you tell us a bit of what he hoped to see, and how do you feel na we have this online platform, like for example, Photo Nation, that serves as a platform for photographers to unite. So how does it make you feel currently?
I think it's wonderful, and your dream is our dream. And let me just share a very personal information, maybe not the information story, but on his deathbed, John was having what they call delirium, and he was expressing all his wishes. And he would say, "Hail Mary, full of grace," and then he would say, take all the children to Jollibee." He didn't mean our children. He meant the children from the squatter area next to us before, who would use our parking space like a outdoor classroom. And he said, take the children to Jollibee. And then he would pray again, Hail Mary, full of grace. And then he would say, put the army here. That means the army photographers that he was trying to teach. And then he would pray again. And then he would say, photographers should really get united and organized. So that was a dream that we had. And in the early years, in the 70s, we were with a group called Professional Photographers Association of the Philippines. And then we formed Advertising Photographers of the Philippines, always hoping that photographers would get united and would learn from each other. Because John was, as I mentioned earlier, very early on, was denied help by a photographer who said it was a trade secret. And John said, I hope I never say that to anyone. And so our dream is to see photographers working together. We had an activity when we formed the Advertising Photographers of the Philippines. We had a forms exchange. So we all bring our forms. We bring as many copies, Xerox copies, as the people in the group, so that we shared and we learned from each other. Why do you put this? Why do you put that? So like I said, don't just submit your cost. Add a cover letter that will explain what are the advantages of working with you, so that you have already one up against whoever is competing against you. It's not enough that you present a cost. You have to have a cover letter citing all the advantages of working with you, because that's your unique selling proposition, right? And so we learned that in advertising. We are in advertising. So our dream is to see photographers united, because when we tried before to impose a no down, no shoot, we succeeded for a while, and many photographers even joined us. Then later, they started saying, oh, it's okay now not to pay down payment. Just don't tell the other photographers. And so instead of trusting each other, photographers believe that they would rather believe that lie. And so nawala yung advantage of being grouped together. We had an association before that we were able to get the agreement between advertisers and advertising agencies that advertising photographers would be paid within 60 days. So that was approved, that was signed, but photographers were very reluctant to impose that condition. And so even though it was signed and they committed, even though clients and agencies committed to paying us on time, photographers were the ones not implementing something that we were all wishing for. So I think it's because you're artists and you just really want to shoot and you don't care whether you get paid or not. But your business partner probably would look after your numbers, your business numbers. So there, I really wish we would hold seminars here in our studio for photographers on photographers' rights, because they don't know that they own the copyrights as soon as it's created. You don't have to wait for registration. Of course, it helps for you to register your photos with the Copyright Office and your trademarks. But even before you do that, the fact that you created your picture is the start of the copyright. The moment it is created, it's copyrighted. So you have to learn how to assert your rights. You have to protect your rights. And the only way to do that is to be united. Because if you're splintered into different groups and you're going different directions, then how can we earn the benefits that are due us as photographers? There should be respect for the craft. There should be respect for the art. There should be
with us tonight, Miss Harvey.
Well, I have nowhere to go.
We hope to have you
Super
with
lockdown
us.
for super seniors.
Maybe we can see each other after this. We can do parang meet up when everything's well settled and okay na. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Miss
you very
Harvey. We
much.
appreciate.
Thank you to all who listened.
Thank you, Miss Harvey. Again, guys, that was Miss Harvey Chua, the co-founder of AdPhoto. And speaking of other photographers, we have more photographers for you tonight. We have with us tonight the Pinoy Picker, all the way from San Francisco, California. He's known as the Pinoy Picker. We have Mr. Allan Mendez, who's a freelance commercial studio photographer based in San Francisco, California, in the US. He is the only Filipino mentored by Harold Ross, who's actually watching with us tonight. The photographer who is also known as, kumbaga, he's really known for his light painting techniques. Mr. Mendez works with commercials for real estate brokers, automotive restyling shops, restaurants, indie and startup coffee brands, and PR boutique firms in the San Francisco Bay Area. Aside from his photographic works, he is also known as, yun nga, the Pinoy Picker, being an avid collector of antiques. He uses them as props for his photographic works. And yun na, let's try to get Mr. Allan Mendez with us tonight. Sir Allan, good evening.
Hi, good morning.
Good
from
morning.
California.
Good morning. Sir Allan, di ko na papatagalin. So, the first question for you is, when did your passion start and what made you pursue this type of photography?
Okay, two words got me into photography: homesickness and nostalgia. That was when we came here in the United States many years ago. I didn't have photos of my hometown, so I said, I want to learn how to shoot good photos so I can go back home and shoot my hometown. So I've gotten serious 4 years after I bought my first camera. And I've been going back and forth to the Philippines once in 2002, 2004, and 2005. And then by 2005, I said, there should be more about in photography, not just shooting landscape and other stuff. So I decided to take a black and white film photography course at Cal State University. And I also took a professional photography class where we get to invite big names in the photography industry here in California. And three of those guest teachers were still life photographers. But the one that really stood out to me, her name was Jo Whaley. She was a well-known fine art photographer here, fine art still life photographer here in California. And she did a revision of the Vanitas still life tradition of the Netherlands Baroque art movement, where she used antique props, pots, vases, all kinds of antique pieces. And she invited us to her her still life studio in Berkeley, California. She showed us her antique props library, and what I saw became my dream props library. Like you see now in my background.
Yes.
So, right there.
You love your antiques. Go ahead.
And it was like a dream come true. So she showed us how she used those boring and mundane objects to create stunning work of art. And I said to myself at that time that I saw it, I said, I want to shoot still life. This is what I want to do. So that was in 2005. I already bought my first DSLR, the Nikon D70. And I started collecting little by little. I tried to hide it from my wife. But eventually she found out, like, when you're 3 months, you can hide it, and then 9 months, and now here it is.
Yes.
So, and then by 2016, I took a workshop in classical arts, and I rediscovered Baroque still life. And then at the same year, I discovered light painting, and that was the year when I was born again in still life photography, and I never stopped. I became more and more serious about still life photography the day I mean the night, because you only do light painting at night.
Yeah.
The night that I saw my subject the first time lit by just a flashlight.
Great. And yun nga, you're also known as the Pinoy picker. When did it start collecting? When did you start collecting antiques, and what's in collecting antiques that you love?
Okay, as I have mentioned, I started collecting after my encounter with Joe Whaley. I always say to my friends, collecting antiques gave me a good excuse to buy camera gear so I can photograph my collection. But my wife thinks the opposite. She suspects that I use photography as an excuse so I can collect antiques. So there's a tension between me and her, but no matter what, she would always support my passion. Like I said, I tried to hide it from her, but didn't work out. So I told my wife, don't worry, I'm gonna sell my first fine art prints, and I'm gonna pay off the new camera that I'm gonna buy. And regarding collecting, I love collecting stuff that reminds me of my hometown, Tanay Rizal. When we were young, my grandparents would take us to their farmlands, corn plantation, cattle ranch up in the Sierra Madre Mountain.
Wow.
And they would make us chase free range chicken for lunch. So I love pieces like old pots, old pans, rusty enamel wares, that thing we called lusa. And I love farm and ranch objects and primitive stuff. Even when we bought our first home, I did the interior design, and I went for a farmhouse and ranch style design. And my wife was, she just supported me, and she liked it. And I collect objects that reminds me of the memorable place in my hometown. Rustic bench, old tables. I collect antiques that we use at home. I don't buy stuff that we don't use. Well, of course, this is an exception right here.
And Sir Allan,
And yeah.
speaking of your antiques, what is your most valuable find so far?
Okay, good question. There's hundreds of them, but I would say it's, if you can see in my background, there's that studio lights on the stand.
Wow.
The studio Fresnel light. It came originally from the Wizard of Oz studio in MGM studio lot in Culver, California. A friend of mine who also owned an antique shop, big antique shop in Hayward, California. He called me one day and said, Allan, you have to come to the shop. I have to show you something. And 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 then he showed it to me. I got there, I saw it, and I wanted it without even hearing the history of it. And it was owned by a 95-year-old man who used to work at the studio. And I said, wow, I will never sell this. And everything still works. As you can see, it's on the zoom adjustment in the back works perfectly. And
Amazing.
let me show you a picture of it.
Go
I
ahead.
did the light painting of it. I don't know if you can see it
Wow.
right there.
Amazing.
That's an
Wow.
old Kodak camera, a Weston
Wow.
light meter, and the studio lights from
Amazing.
Wizard of Oz.
Amazing. And Sir Allan, being a collector of antiques, you also get amazing and interesting. You get interesting props. We love your photos because it's not just product photography, but at the same time, there's this sense of storytelling to it. How important are those elements to your work?
Well, props are the cast. This is the characters in a still life story, kind of like the actors and actresses. And in still life, the still life style would always determine the props that I use. For example, if I do the traditional vanitas, I look at Baroque still life paintings and try to identify the iconography or the objects that they use in the painting of that art movement. It's like you put together a list of ingredients when you need to buy to cook a specific food.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do freestyle, random selections of object,
Mm-mm.
something I learned from my mentor,
Mm-mm.
Harold.
Yeah.
I select props by height, color, sizes, details,
Mm-mm.
and it doesn't have to fit a certain story. But
Mm-mm.
in product and food photography, I use prop to sell a lifestyle.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
By using props, I can make a plate of food looks like it was shot in a restaurant or at
Yeah.
home or even outdoors. And I always believe that a still life work would only becomes meaningful and powerful when it becomes personal.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So yes, there's inspiration everywhere, but we have to always ask ourselves a question: what does this still life story mean to me?
Mm-mm. Really good explanation and insight from Sir Alan. And also, since you mentioned Sir Harold Ross, who's also watching with us tonight, you're also regarded as the only Filipino student mentored by him who originated the light painting technique. And like what we always say, not many are brave enough to do this, particularly because it's a lot. It takes a lot of patience and time. For those who don't know, Sir Harold Ross, maybe you can tell us more about him and how was it like working with him?
Um, where first of all, I'd like to say that I'm really honored to be regarded as the first Filipino mentored by Harold, because I've been following him since 2016, the year I discovered his light painting. And um, uh, do we have 2 hours to talk about Harold?
Maybe
Okay,
briefly, maybe.
so yeah, no, there are a lot of articles written about him, but I wanted to talk to you about who Harold is,
Mm-mm.
according to me.
Mm-mm.
Um, so I've been wanting to get into wine and beverage industry, but using light painting as my main lighting method, and learning Harold's method has always been my dream. And working with Harold is a dream come true. His basic free light painting tutorials already helped me to create a distinct and noticeable light style. So to answer your question, how it was like working with the grand maestro of light painting. Let me tell you this. It was like learning karate moves with Master Miyagi.
Can
Like those
imagine.
wax on, wax off, brush
Mm-mm.
up, brush down,
Mm-mm.
repetitive moves.
Mm-mm.
It was boring at first,
Mm-mm.
but when he demonstrated to me how he used those boring exercises to transform the
Mm-mm.
still life objects,
Mm-mm.
suddenly my perception of light went into complete transformation.
Wow.
So let me describe my experience with Harold
Mm-mm.
using the letter, the 3 letter G's that I came up with. Number one, generous.
Wow.
Harold loves to teach. He developed his own method, but he started teaching it to those who are serious enough about achieving a very natural look, like myself, by using a flashlight,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And he taught me 100 things about light painting. And when our workshop ended, um, he didn't say goodbye, have fun with it, and he continued to mentor me, and we became good friends, and every now and then he would always remind me that he's just a phone away whenever I need help or advice or critique from my current project. And I mean, that's more than what I paid for,
Mm-mm.
you
Mm-mm.
know.
Mm-mm.
And number two, he's genuine.
Mm-mm.
He's a real teacher. He taught college level photography at Maryland Institute College of Art for many years.
Mm-mm.
His teaching style molded me into something that I was not before. Harold is a real person.
Mm-mm.
He got frustrated when I didn't do what I was told to do. And that really pushed me to work really, really hard to get into the path of precision, perfection, and mastery. And lastly, he's a genius. He codified light painting. He's
Mm-mm.
the, for me, he's the Leonardo da Vinci of modern light painting. And I was very surprised by how his light painting method always gave me a consistent result. The precision, perfection, and mastery are always there. And he simplified composition to create a work of art at personal level, yet meaningful and powerful. Um, it was like he put me outside the box, and he freed me from thinking about the Fibonacci spiral, the dynamic symmetry. Now I just do it. It's simplified, so I just go by what I feel is, makes it more personal and meaningful.
Speaking of your light painting works, let's now dive into your works. We actually have a video here. Let me, again, for those who are watching, don't forget to follow Sir Allan Mendez. His Instagram is at Allan M underscore light painting. And his Facebook is facebook.com/allan.mendez.585. And his website is abmendez.com. So speaking of works, let's now dive into the works of Sir Allan. Hold on. Here.
Talking sweet and telling me you'll stay, and I believed every damn word you'd say. I'm not sure how the clouds gathered so fast, but once the rain started pouring, I knew this flood would last. This flood would
Wow. Yun. So that's the work of Sir Allan. Galing, Sir Allan. So let's now
Thank
dive
you.
into your works. Your first photo is this one. So maybe you can talk about this. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I picked this picture because it brings back a lot of memories. There was a serial shot prior to this output that I posted on DPP forum back in 2008. They created this critique forum, and I wanted to post a photo there because there were a lot of pros who are giving critique, but I wasn't sure if I'm ready for the critique. So it took me a while to post my original serial shot, but finally I posted it. And I just want to give a shout out to Sir Ali Reyes,
He's watching.
Chief Ricky Laja, and
Yes.
Sir Winston Baltazar. I don't know if you recognize the name.
Of course.
These are the pros that whose work I respected back then, and until now. And so um, the original shot was an okay shot. So Sir Ali gave his critique. He told me he advised that I use a plain background because the background that I use doesn't complement the serial. And then Chief Ricky told me that it was flat because I used a 24 by 36 softbox. And then there were other dozens of advice that was given to me. And Sir Winston Baltasar told me, Alan, only take the advice from photographer whose work you respected. And I took those advice, those three, and it took me about a week and a half to work on this personal assignment, and that was the result.
Amazing. And then your next shot, the Porsche. Go ahead.
The Porsche. This is my first car light painting project. A friend of mine called me if I can light paint his friend's newly bought Porsche 993, and I had an idea what to do because I've been doing the still life light painting for 3 months already, so I knew what I had to do. So I always say if you can photograph a bottle of wine, I think you can you can photograph a car. So we went to Treasure Island in San Francisco at midnight because during the day, this place, if you go earlier, like 7, this place is packed with tourists. So we went at midnight, and the place was empty, no car passing by, and I used a 24 by 36 Alien Beast softbox. Then I put a LED panel inside, and then I started the light painting magic, and this is what I got. I captured 5 bracketed shots. So when I was looking on the image on my computer screen, I said to myself, I have a market for this. And then, the following week, I started going to restyling shops here in the East Bay. I was giving the prints, with my number, and this is what I do. If you need a promotional piece, you can call me. And then they started calling me.
Amazing. And the next one, the lemon tea.
The lemon tea, I captured this during lockdown. Um, um, so I didn't, you know, I just want to give a shout out to this guy Tony Pet Montemayor, because when he saw my light painting, he encouraged me to join a photo contest because he told me I deserve international recognition. So um, there was this contest by Ken Rockwell, the angry photographer,
Yeah.
and it was hosted. It was um, sponsored by Fujifilm USA and judged by Benjamin Kanarek, one of the fashion photographer, Harper Bazaar, Vogue, Glamour, El Numero, Style Magazine, and he messaged me and told me that um, this guy Tony Pet Montemayor, thank you, Sir Tony Pet, and then and I made it to the last minute. Actually, I sent the photo like 5 minutes before it was over. So I sent it the next day. I was waiting for it and I was listening, and I made it fifth runner up. Ken and Ben were laughing when they were looking at my photo, when they were judging my entry. And here's what Ben Kanarek said. It looks like a Rembrandt painting. It's super real than surreal.
It is.
It really reminds me of a Rembrandt painting. This lighting is beautiful. I love the fact that it's really muted, other than having a lemon and the lime that pops off the page. I love the pewter, if that's what it is. I wouldn't touch a thing. It's very, very beautiful, Alan. Alan, congratulations. That was my first international recognition for doing this light painting. So
Amazing. And your next one, Sir Alan, ito, the pear.
okay, the pear. This one, it was inspired by the painting of Peter the Ring. He was a Baroque painter back in the 1600s. Um, I I I actually built this story around that gold hourglass, and and I want to convey the grandeur of a Baroque still life. So I use the iconography of the Baroque, and I use the tassel, the rope, the curtain, and the wine goblet. And I've been wanting to do this using the light painting I learned from Harold, and I was I was surprised, excited. I was so happy because I just love the way it turned out. It looks like a painting, but if you look closer, it's 100% photographic.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, your Murphy's whiskey.
Okay, it's this bottle right here.
Hold on. Let me show it up on screen. Hold on.
Okay.
There you go. Wow.
Okay. There you go. It's
Can
a
you tell us
vintage Irish whiskey.
what's the age of it?
I don't really know, but it was covered with dust when I bought it, and I decided not to clean it. I want to keep that character. And I bought this bottle at a estate sale
Mm-mm.
of a cowboy style restaurant. It was open in 1950s. It's part of Hayward, California history already. But sadly, it went out of business early this year due to the passing away of its owner,
Ah.
who, like me, was also a picker.
Ah.
So he has this museum. His restaurant was filled with antiques, and they held the sale. Uh, they held it for one day. It was a sad day that day. At the same time, it was a big estate sale. It was like 3,000 square feet filled with antiques. I bought about 10 antiques, 10 items. I couldn't carry more than 10 items. There were no shopping carts.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can picture me how I look
Yeah.
carrying 10 items. And one of them is a wine cask about this big. I was carrying it and
Mm.
with the other 10 items. So with this Murphy's, I wanted to create something that conveyed that feeling
Mm-mm.
of the Wild West theme of that Hayward Ranch restaurant.
Mm-mm.
Dark, moody, rustic, classic, And I worked on this one month after my light painting technique, my light painting technique training. And I showed it to my mentor. He liked it. And then I sent it to the family. And I told them, I just want to let you know that your husband's treasure collections is now in good hands. And
Amazing.
they really appreciate it.
Love the story. And then, Sir Alan, let's now dive into your behind the scenes. So we have a photo or photos of your car. And so maybe you can
Yeah.
talk about this. What were some of the things that you experienced with this one?
Okay, so this one it was for a restyling shop in Fremont, California. He showed my work to this race car driver, and he requested that I light paint his car, and at the same time, he wanted to hire a videographer to to capture me in video while doing my light painting work. And I got there. I already have an idea about the location and what we would do. And he told me, sorry, Alan, the engine didn't come in time. So we have to shoot it here. We can't move the car. And I look at the shop, it wasn't nice,
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about using the light graffiti light painting. So I have this ice light with a blue gel, and then good thing that the videographer also had two ice lights with
Mm-mm.
yellow and red filters.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So that's what I did. I went around the car, I did the light painting, and that's the result.
Amazing. It adds character to the
Yeah, and
to
it
the
kind of hides
yeah,
hides
also.
the look of the shop,
Mm, yeah. And then your next one, the bread. Go ahead.
Okay, the bread. I always love to build my set. When I opted for a lower point of view, of course, it would show this space in the background. If I use a plain backdrop, then it would look not as interesting as this one. So
Yeah.
I built the set to give a feeling of um, home, um, traditional home bakery.
Mm-mm.
So this is that one, and I use one light. As you can see, I use a 5x5 scrim and a DIY gobo with that window shape. I wanted to use I want to convey that light coming through a door
Mm-mm.
and a small window.
Amazing. And then finally, your last behind the scenes. Go ahead.
Okay, so this one I bought that pan flute from a Peruvian vendor,
Mm.
and I said this would be a nice piece to create an illusion of a place like somewhere in Peru.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
that's what I did. I posted this in our group, and I said somewhere in Peru, and it gave you that feeling that it really captured there.
Yeah.
I set it up in my home studio. I used just one light, a 24 by 36 Alien Beast softbox and strobe.
Amazing. And finally, Sir Alan, maybe you can share with us your top 3 tips in terms of light
Okay,
painting.
top 3 tips.
Go ahead, please.
I'm so glad you asked me that. I'm glad you came up with that question, because the other day I had a conversation with Harold Ross, and I said, how would you package your 30 years light painting experience into 3 tips? So this is what he gave me. Um, okay, listen up. First, he said, always skim the light from the side at 45 degrees angle. Then never light from the camera viewpoint, you know, flat lighting if you go to the front. Lastly, move the light to soften the main shadow. So those 3 main tips. He told me, Alan, if you master this, if you apply this and memorize this, you're gonna be a master. But let me add my 3.
Go
That
ahead.
was the 3 from
Go ahead,
Harold, and
please.
I want to add. Well, it's more of an advice. Number 1, learn to find beautiful light. Number 2, learn to appreciate beautiful light. And number 3, learn to emulate beautiful light using Harold's 3 tips. So that's a total of 6.
Really insightful, Sir Alan. On that note, we'd like to thank you for sharing your story and
Thank
lots
you.
of the insightful things that you'd share with us. Again, please stay. We'll have a wrap up after our final guest. And guys, on that note, let's now bring in our final guest. Hold on. Our final guest is, last but definitely not the least, a commercial studio photographer and owner of Sharpbox, who is based in the Philippines. We have Kim Diaz. He specializes in product photography for jewelries, watches, food photography, as well as styling, and works with both local and international brands. Aside from photography, Kim also launched Sharpbox, a company dedicated to supplying photographers with studio solutions for tabletop photography. Let's all watch this. Speaking of Kim Diaz, let's bring it up on screen. Hold on. Hi Kim, good evening or good morning. I think you're on mute. Wait lang. Go ahead. Can you hear
Hello.
me? Yun.
Hi,
Hi
guys.
Kim, kamusta?
Okay lang. Ito, buhay pa.
Oh, yun. So Kim, hindi ko na papatagalin. How did you begin and what got you hooked into commercial photography?
Before ako nag-start mag-photography, sobrang daming genre na tinry ko. I tried wedding, sports, food, pets, architectural, lahat. Tapos parang feeling ko, hindi ako nag-excel dun sa mga genre na yon. Tapos nung nag-work ako sa isang company sa Makati before, graphic artist ako doon. Tapos meron din akong camera. I got it as a graduation gift, a Canon 7D. I got it without lens. And then my friend Iwa Magno, shout out kay Iwa. He lent me his lens. It was a 28 to 135 kit lens. So yun lang yung ginamit ko. Tapos doon ako nag-start mag-take ng mga food photos kasi restaurant, bar, something yung pinagkatrabuhan ko noon. Graphic artist ako doon. Tapos medyo nagustuhan ko yung mag-take ng food photos. I was just using first available light and then nag-invest ako sa isang speed light and then an umbrella. Tapos yun, nag-start na. Tapos yung isang manager yung dating manager ko, marketing manager, nag-resign na siya and then refer niya ako sa isang company sa Makati na naghahanap ng product photographer for an auction house. So, tapos ayun, nag-try akong mag-shoot ng products nila na-approve ako, nagustuhan nila yung mga gawa ko. Nung nag-start ako mag-take ng mga product shots, jewelry at watches agad yung first na pinapicturean sa akin. Eh, di sobrang hirap na agad. Wala pa akong idea ano yung gagawin ko. Hindi parang 1 week before the shoot, nag-aral ako sa YouTube, lahat ng mga pwedeng aralin, inaral ko para ma-execute ko ng maayos yung shoot. Tapos, ayun, one light lang yung first na meron ako, isang speed light. Tapos ang gamit kong mga reflector dati noon is yung, alam mo yung mga nilalagay sa kotse para hindi umaraw. Yung mga ganyan, mga reflector na yun lang yung ginamit ko noon. Nag-start ako mag-shoot. Tapos, nagustuhan naman ng client yung mga kanalabasan ng photo. Tapos, lahat ng nakuha kong money sa project na yun, siguro mga, as in, lahat yun, in-invest ko. Bumili ako ng buong studio. Softbox. Tapos, kinuha ulit nila ako para sa next shoot. Tapos, every time shoot ako, nag-i-improve yung mga shots, nakakapag-upgrade na ako ng mga gamit. Tapos, doon ko na-realize na para sa akin yung product photography kasi na-enjoy ko yung mga technical details, yung maging super sharp yung photos. Yung mga yun, ayun. Tapos marami rin nagsasabi sa akin na maganda yung photos, kaya ayun.
Pinursu mo talaga
nagustuhan ko na yung commercial product.
Speaking of yun nga, Kim, kasi nga you're also known nga being meticulous in terms of lighting, tsaka yung pag-compose mo ng product shots. Yun nga, we love yung behind the scenes na pinapost mo rin, na sinishare mo. Kasi the people who see it get to understand how it works.
Yeah.
And for those who are new sa field na to, can you share with us how important is it to have a keen eye for detail in product photography?
Yeah. Sobrang important. Lalo na pinaka-tip ko sa mga nag-start pa lang, always use a tripod and always avoid camera shake. Kung possible, always tether sa computer. Kasi minsan nakala natin sa likod ng camera natin okay na. Pero pag zoom natin, makita natin blurred pala, may fingerprint pala yung mga product na sinushoot mo. Tapos wala nang chance mag-reshoot. So kailangan, habang nag-shoot ka pa lang, check mo na lahat ng mga little details para pagdating mo sa post-processing, makuha mo yung result na gusto mo.
Great. And then, ito naman, Kim, in terms of commission works, yun nga we know your works na they're very clean, saka well executed. And isa sa mga pinakamahirap na kunan are jewelries and watches. Can you share with us some of the most challenging projects na nagawa mo or na produce mo?
Yeah. Isa sa mga pinaka-challenging projects na nagawa ko, I was shooting for auction house in Makati. Tapos, they have like 500 items. Kailangan yung shoot ko within this day, within 2 to 3 days, matapos ko na siyang ma-edit. Kailangan ma-send ko na agad sa client. So, sobrang bilis. So, what I did was, I hired a graphic artist na once na nag-shoot ako, and then, pasa agad sa graphic artist ko, drop out na niya agad. Ang pinapagawa ko lang doon sa mga graphic artist is pinapa-pen tool ko lang kasi gagamitin ito for catalog pinapa-pen tool ko para pagdating sa akin doon sa final edit na ako na lang mag-retouch, mag-a-adjust ng color correction, magpo-focus stacking kasi for me pag jewelry and watches talaga hindi pwedeng hindi ka mag-focus stacking kasi doon para sa akin doon ko na-differentiate yung work ko sa mga work ng ibang tao. That's na pag nakita nila na super sharp nung photo, minsan na pagkakamalan nila 3D. So ayun, I pride myself in my work, yung sa focus stacking, yung mga details, sharpness talaga, yung priority ko.
Ganun pala siya. So, in terms of naman, Kim, in terms of commission works, yun nga actually nagbigay rin si Miss Harvey kanina ng tips about this. What are some of the key things to keep in mind, especially kapag i-value mo na yung trabaho mo? Can you share with us some factors na kailangan in order to provide yung mga tipong, yun nga we need to provide quotes for our clients. So, baka pwede ka i-share about that.
Oo, yes. Unang-una, dapat mag-focus ka dun sa portfolio mo. Dapat ma-differentiate mo yung work mo sa work ng iba para meron ka na agad edge. Meron ka na agad unique selling proposition niya ika nga ni Miss Harvey. Dapat mas maganda kasi na hina-hire ka ng client kasi gusto nila yung gawa mo, hindi hina-hire ka kasi mura ka lang. Mas masarap sa feeling yung, di ba, na hina-hire ka na kasi sobrang gusto nila yung gawa mo. Tapos isa sa mga, usually kasi ang client nagtatanong lagi, how much is your rate, ganyan. So, lagi ko na, will the photos be used? Kasi yun yung pinaka-importante. Minsan, hindi natin alam. Gagamitin pala sa billboard tapos ang singil mo is yung pang internal lang, for social media lang. Iba kasi yung mga rates ng ng bawat usage. Yeah. Tapos isa pang question na tinatanong ko dun sa client kung how many products, pati kung may peg sila, kung ano yung gusto nilang approach dun sa product. Kailangan malaman mo lahat ng mga details as much as possible. Lahat ng questions itanong mo para mas makapag-quote ka sa kanya ng mas maayos.
Yun.
Ayun. Tapos tinatanong ko din kung sino yung decision makers din sa team kasi minsan may kausap ka. Tapos hindi pala sila yung bigay ng final decision. So mas maganda na alamin mo kung sino yung mga decision makers para mas bilis yung transaction ng project.
Yun.
Tapos,
go ahead.
Yeah, pati tanong mo kung magkano ba. First sila maghanap ng photographer. Of course, meron na silang budget. Kaya, yung ibang client naman, sinasabi naman nila yung budget nila. Yung iba naman, sinasabi nila first time lang nila mag-hire ng photographer. Minsan tinatanong ko sila kung shoot na ba sila ng project na parang ganito before, kung sino yung hinire ng photographer, magkano yung rate. Minsan naman sinasabi naman nila. Kasi minsan kapag mas okay na yung client mo yung unang magsasabi ng rate kesa ikaw. Kasi minsan ina-expect mo na low budget lang yung client. Tapos tapos yung budget pala nila is malaki, di ba? Mas maganda na malaman mo yung budget nila before ikaw yung magbigay ng price mo.
Right. Oh. Yun. Really good insights from Kim. So, in terms of ano naman, Kim, kasi we also understand na you built Sharpbox. Pwede mo ba, ayun, baka pwede mong i-share sa amin ano yung Sharpbox and what do you offer, and for photographers, yun nga di ba, I know they love yung risers na ginawa mo. So maybe you can talk about that. Go ahead.
Nag-start kasi yun nung meron akong shoot na meron kaming peg na kailangan ng mga white boxes. Tapos gumawa ako ng sobrang dami ko na nagawang mga trial and error. Bumili ako ng mga wood, pinako sila, tapos ni-roller ko ng paint. Kung ano na na-try ko, siguro mga 5 failed tries na ako. Hanggang hanap ko na yung pinaka magandang way how to build it. Tapos, nag-post lang ako sa page ko, and then ang daming mga nag-message sa akin kung saan ko nabili, kung yung mga ganun. Tapos sinabi ko na ginawa ko sila. Tapos, yung mga ibang friends ko, sabi sa akin, magbenta ka na, ganyan. Ayun. Tapos doon ko naisipan na magbenta nga ako. Meron akong mga friends, shoutout sa TOR. Yun, pinatest ko sa kanila yung risers. Tapos sobrang nagustuhan nila. Sabi, kahit anong product daw yung lagay mo, gumaganda kahit pangit yung lighting.
Ayun, nasa likod ni
Kim.
Wow, oo nga, no?
So, you can see.
Nung Kim, nung nakita ko siya, nung pinost mo yung video, sabi ko, akala ko CGI. Kasi, ang ganda nung niya, talagang flat. Kapag sinabi flat ng kulay, ang ganda ng tama ng ilaw. Yun. And, go ahead.
Ayun lang naman. Tapos hanggang ngayon, kaka-start ng meron mga nag-order from Miami. Nakapag-ship na ako sa Miami, sa Australia, pati sa Germany. Tapos ngayon, maraming mga nag-Bloomberg. Kasi ang mahal kasi ng shipping minsan kapag minsan wala kasi silang mahanap doon. Kaya willing naman sila bayaran yung shipping.
Right.
Tapos ngayon nasa Lazada napasok na sila sa Lazada. Tapos meron na rin silang website. Ayun. Okay naman. Pati maganda yung feedback ng mga tao dun sa riser.
And ito naman, Kim, speaking of your works, punta naman tayo doon sa mga nagawa mo na photos. Hold on. Ipapakita natin sa screen. Again, guys, if you're watching this, don't forget to follow Kim. His Instagram is @KimDiazStudio, and his Facebook is facebook.com/KimDiazStudio, and his website is KimDiazPhotography.com. So yan, let's now dive into the first photo. So Kim, take it away.
Ito, sobrang yung photo na to. Kasi sobrang niya. Actually, this is a ring. Sobrang laki lang nung gemstone. Hindi mo na makita yung band. Pero marami naman siyang nag-take ako ng multiple shots nito. Kasi this is for a catalog sa auction house. Yeah. This is a sapphire diamond. I think this was around 1 or 2 million yata yung price nito. Noong una yung mga client ko, first year ko sa kanila, ayaw nila akong pahawakin ng mga jewelries. Gusto nila sila yung maghahawak kasi siyempre, di ba? Sobrang mamahal ng product, baka masira ko. Yung first year, medyo hesitant pa sila. Tapos nung nag-gain ko na yung trust nila, ayun na, pinapahawak na nila ako ng mga jewelries, ng mga watches. Kaya yun. Saka importante din talaga mag-build ka ng trust din sa mga clients mo. Naging client sila siguro mga 5 years na, tapos running pa din.
Kim, may question ako. Kasi di ba normally mga jewelries, nagiging problema niya is yung glare. Glare mo mismo as a photographer kasi nakikita ka doon sa screen. So how do you, ano yung mga ginagawa mo to eliminate that?
Usually, ang ginagawa ko dyan, kailangan ma-cover ko yung buong side nung jewelry para walang mag-reflect na mga like ako, yung camera o yung surroundings ko. Tapos kasi usually it depends on different kinds of product eh. May mga ibang product na okay lang yung mga may black reflection. May mga ibang product naman na pangit siya tignan. Pero for this one, I think this is around mga 16 shots merged into one.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a different shot for the center, for the diamond. Tapos meron kasing shot to na na merong sobrang harsh highlight dun sa upper left niya. Hindi mo siya pwedeng ma-eliminate kasi pag tinanggal mo yung harsh na highlight na yun, hindi mo makikita yung mga facets ng diamond, yung mga lines niya. So ang ginawa ko, nag-take ako ng multiple lighting spot, tapos then minerge ko na siya in post para maging perfect na yung itsura niya.
Kumbaga para din siya light painting in a way, no?
Oo. Usually, oo. Usually para siyang troubleshooting eh. Kasi minsan, lalo na sa jewelry photography, hindi mo matitake ng one click lang yung jewelry tas perfect na. Lalo na, for me, jewelry is 50%, mga 40 to 50% ng work is nasa retouching.
Yeah. Grabe, ganun pala, no? And then, let's move on to the next. Ito naman, yung gold. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a client of mine from Australia. These are cufflinks. Meron siyang mga luxury cufflinks. Tapos, actually, this is just a test shot kasi meron siyang mga 100 designs. So, sabi niya, pwede bang magpa-test ng product. Nagpadala siya ng product to Australia. At ayun, nag-take ng photo niya. At sobrang nagustuhan niya. Pinakita pa niya sa mga ibang colleagues niya na marami rin ibang business. Ayun, nagpapadala rin daw dito ng mga ibang product.
In terms of gold naman, ano yung pinakamahirap dyan?
Yung gold. Kailangan, so, makuha mo yung, kung ano yung color ng gold, kailangan, yun din yung lumabas sa camera mo. Kaya it's important to use this.
Wait lang, pakita natin on screen.
Yeah. This is
color checker.
X-ray color checker. Kasi kapag gumamit ka nito, pwede ka mag-save sa computer mo ng color profile na kung ano mismo yung color ng product na pinipicture mo, yun din yung lalabas dun sa
Great. So, napaka-importante.
Camera mo. Tapos, i-enhance mo na lang siya.
Di tsaka importante ngayon, lalo na pag gumagawa ka ng pagkain, di ba? Siyempre, kung yung pagkain mo, hindi ganun yung kulay, ba't siya kakainin, di ba? So, that's very important. And, hold on. Tingnan yung ibang photos. Your next photo is, ito. You're also known for watches. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ito yung sabi nila, sabi ng client ko, isa daw sa mga pinaka-rare na Rolex kasi this is a racing edition, parang gano'n. So, sobrang nagustuhan ko yung pagka-red niya. Tapos, pero nung pinarint ko sa catalog nila, it's just in white background. Tapos, gumawa na lang ako ng isang version na for my portfolio na nilagyan ko ng red para medyo eye-catching siya. Kasi yung style ko, kung mapapansin niyo yung mga photos, gusto ko parang isang tingin mo lang mapapastop ka na nag-scroll sa newsfeed mo. Sobrang ganda ng colors, super sharp.
Oo.
Yun yung gusto kong achieve lagi. Kasi magandang lighting. Isa yun sa mga goal ko before ako nag-start, before ako siguro mga 5 years ago, sabi ko sa sarili ko na gusto ko ako maging pinakamagaling mag-light na product photographer. Di ko pa siya siguro na-achieve pero yun yung goal ko.
Importante.
Lagi ko iniisip every time na nag-shoot ako.
Napaka-importante nun na palaging dapat meron kang goal. Yun. So, and the next one, Kim, ito yung sapatos. Go ahead.
Yes. Kasi for this one, naisip kasi ako ng way paano mas magiging mag-look interesting yung mga shot ng sapatos. Kasi halos lahat, kung tumingin ako sa internet, halos lahat ng mga shoe shots magkakaparehas na. So, naisip ako ng way kung paano ko ma-integrate yung pagiging graphic artist ko photography. So itong shot na to, kung makita niyo yung shoes, naglagay lang ako dyan ng parang patungan ng shoes. Tapos one light lang to. One light lang yan. Nag-light lang ako from the right. Tapos, hanggang makuha ko yung shadow, yung sa shadow ng shoes. And then yung background, ginawa ko na yan in post para magmukha siyang mag-step. Kasi sobrang nagustuhan ko yung result. Kakaiba siya sa mga lahat ng mga photos. Kaya, ayun. Sinare ko nga dun sa isang group, about business group, na nalito ng third place.
Wow.
Sa international product photography group.
Not bad, no. Di tsaka yun nga kumbaga when you look at product photos, kailangan syempre una mong titingnan yung produkto, di ba? And yun ang pinaka-importante. Okay, and your next one, ito, ganda rin ito. Go ahead.
Yeah, I shot this for Mocha, a coffee cafe at DGC. Ito yung isa sa mga tip na share ko dun sa mga nag-start na food photography, lalo na beverages. Nung nag-take ako ng photo na to, sobrang important na maglagay ka ng stand-in before ilagay mo yung pinaka-final product. Nag-set muna ako ng scene, tapos inayos ko muna yung light. Naglagay lang ako ng dummy na glass. Kung ano yung glass, kung paano siya ilawan. Once na makuha ko na yung final look na gusto ko, saka ako na pinadala yung pinaka-coffee. Kasi kapag nilagay ko lang yan dyan, nag-start ako, hindi mo makikita yung mga parang nag-mix dun sa ilalim. Diba, parang yung milk nag-mix dun sa coffee. By the way, this is a salted caramel milk coffee. Ayun. So, kapag hindi ako gumamit ng stand-in, magiging black na lang yung bottom part. Hindi mo na makikita na bumababa yung milk dun sa
oo nga. O di tsaka inahabol mo rin kasi yung ano niya, di ba?
Yeah, oo, kailangan
freshness.
mahabol mo siya.
Amazing. And then, punta naman tayo sa mga behind the scenes mo, Kim. So, maybe you can talk about the equipment or the camera that you use. Go ahead.
Yes. Now I'm using a Canon EOS R, a mirrorless camera. I came from a Canon 1DX. Sobrang laki na camera. Kasi before, kaya yun yung kinuha kong camera. Gusto ko sana yung sports photographer. Kaya yung 1DX yung binili ko. Pero parang feeling ko di ako magaling doon. Tapos nakakuha ko ng mga product photography gig. Ayun. Tapos sobrang sumakit pa yung nagkaroon ako ng back pain doon kasi sobrang bigat. Tapos ayun, tapos I sold my 7D and my 1DX for this one para ayun. Mas magaan na siya, pati mas higher megapixels kasi yun yung mas kailangan ko .
Oo, right. And of course, yung color checker mo, napaka-importante.
Oo, yes.
And
pati
then,
yung shooting tethered, yun talaga. Hindi ako makapag-shoot ng hindi naka-tether.
Oo, kasi para makita mo agad, no? Lalo na you're down to the detail din kasi.
Yes.
And next, your next one, ito, food photography naman. Go ahead.
Ayan. Itong nasa left, actually I also have a startup coffee brand. This is Pink Coffee, so I'm shooting the photos. Yung BTS na to, I think I was making a video of parang a short demo tutorial on how to make a cold brew. Yan, so may video yan. Tapos for this one naman, since I write, I was hired to do the food styling for a photographer for Studio Yacht ko.
Si Lawrence.
Yeah. Yeah, si Lawrence, yeah.
Oo, good.
Yeah, tinulungan ko siya mag-style ng food dito, pati mag-light ng scene. So, ayan yun.
Tsaka gamit nyo yung mga yung planks na ito.
Oo.
Great. And then, next, ito, mga product shots naman. Go ahead.
Yan. So, itong nasa left, ito yung usually so ito na siya ngayon, yung nasa background ko. Ngayon, yun yung ginagamit ko. Dito lang sa sala, yung sala namin, kinonvert ko lang siya as my home studio. Tapos, dito lang ako, lahat ng equipment ko, yun, nandito lang sa lahat. I was shooting for a newer client. They are making phone cases for the iPhone 11. Yun, tapos sinip niya yung mga products niya dito. Tapos meron din siya mga AirPods na case.
Wow.
Ayun. So, tapos sobrang nagustuhan niya yung mga gawa. Nirefer niya ako dun sa isa niyang colleague naman na mayroong mga luxury watches din na ngayon on the way na papunta na dito. Kaya sobrang importante talaga na to build a good relationship sa client. Saka kailangan maganda talaga yung ma-produce mo para i-refer ka dun sa mga ibang businesses.
Oo, kasi magkakaibigan din ng mga ibang
Oo,
brands ba?
mga business owners halos lahat magkakaibigan.
And then
puro word of mouth, yeah. As for this one, ito, I think this is the most difficult lighting scene na nagawa ko dun sa isang watch. I think this was about 5 lights yata yung ginamit ko dito. Kasi ito yung ginamit na cover for the magazine. So this is a Patek watch. What I did was, kasi sobrang technical ng focus stacking. So ang ginawa ko, ang ginawa ko dun sa isang watch, nag-light lang muna ako ng isang part. Once makuha ko yung gusto kong lighting sa isang part, focus stack ko yun siguro mga 20 shots or mga 18 to 20 shots yata yun. Sa isang part pa lang, yung pagpalagay dun pa lang sa crown. So isang part naman dun sa bezel. Tapos isa sa face, tapos isa sa strap, tapos isa sa reflection.
Right.
So sobrang daming stacking nun. I-stack mo yun for different kinds of light. Yung nag-start pala ako, ang gusto ko palang gawin sa kanya is i-take siya ng isang click na lahat ng light. Yung 5 lights na yung papasok. Pero hindi ko magawa yung gusto ko. Pati hindi maganda yung kinakalabasan, nagmumukhang flat. Kaya ang ginawa ko dito, pinapatay ko yung mga ibang lights. Kapag isa lang muna yung on ko, tapos saka ako magpo-focus stack. Pag tapos na ako doon, isa naman ang on ko, focus stack hanggang mabuo ko yung buong scene.
So ganun pala.
Ayun.
Grabe,
Tapos importante, kung makikita niyo dito, naka-gloves ako. Kasi sobrang important kapag dinagalaw mo yung product kailangan walang fingerprints.
And your next one. Ito, food ulit.
Yes.
I think Kim nag-stop yata yung yung video mo.
Hold on. Yeah, okay na.
Not yet. Iba. Maybe you need to turn off tapos on ulit dito sa Zoom para
i-off ko yung video sa Zoom?
On-off mo lang baka lang siya, naglo-load.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. The same pa din.
Ayun pa din. Hold on.
Ayan, okay na. Great. And ito Kim, go ahead. Your
Yeah, for the left one, I was shooting for Coco, yung Korean chicken. Yeah. So itong product nila na to, this is they call it the snow chicken. Ito yung marami kami mga sprinkle na mga cheese powder din sa ibabaw. Tapos kailangan din naka-tether. Tapos kung makita mo dito, I only have 2 light source. Itong malaking screen. Tapos may softbox lang ako dyan para we have soft shadow. Tapos meron ng maliit na fill light dito para mabawasan lang yung shadow sa left.
Okay.
Ayun.
And ito naman sa kanan, ito yung gumamit ka ulit ng
Yeah,
quality. Great.
Yeah,
And then,
so itong sa right, for me this is the basic setup kapag mag-shoot ka ng mga white background. Kasi kadalasan pag product photography, di ba kailangan nila ng white background, catalog style. So bumubuo ako ng parang cube. Tapos ilalight ko yung different sides para maging even yung lighting pati tapos every time na mag-shoot ako, kailangan naka-black frame muna para walang ibang light na papasok. So yun yung pinaka-importante. After ko makuha yung black frame, set ako ng light and then tsaka ako naman isa-set yung color checker. After nun, kasi kapag na-take mo na lahat ng yung lahat ng mga shots mo, tapos pag dinrag mo na sa computer yung color checker, may basis ka na ng color nung the rest ng mga products na isi-shoot mo.
Great. Yeah. And yon, on that note, Kim, maybe you can leave us with your top 3 tips in terms of product photography or lighting a product.
Yeah. Top 3 tips. Siguro dapat tips ko, always use a tripod. Kailangan ma-eliminate nyo lagi yung camera shake. Tapos, always use remote shutter. Huwag nyo i-click yung shutter button ng camera kasi nag-i-introduce pa rin siya ng camera shake. Pwede kang gumamit ng mga remote like this one. Tapos, kapag once na nakakonect ka na sa laptop, pwede mo naman i-trigger yung camera using the laptop. Ayan. Tapos, next tip is learn how to manipulate light. Kasi minsan, hindi natin kailangan ng sobrang daming lights. Kahit one light lang, ang light mo, halos lahat kahit ano, pwede mo na magawa. Like for example, this. Ito. Ito yung isa sa mga pinaka-favorite ko na mga reflectors. Kasi
mirror.
Pag gumamit ka ng mirror, kapag gumamit ka ng mirror, pwedeng maging parang dalawa na agad yung light source mo.
Oo nga.
So, di ba pag gumamit ka ng isang main light mo dito, tapos nag-bounce dito, parang meron kang dalawang light agad. So yun. Tapos always use reflectors. Tapos, ano ba? Tapos, and try to, maraming di mag-agree sa akin, pero feeling ko kailangan lahat na kung paano mag-post-processing. Kasi maraming mga photographers na sinasabi nila na hindi sila masyadong naniniwala sa post. Gusto nila pag in camera o there's nothing wrong with that. Pero ako din, I try my best to take good photos in camera na. Pero iba pa rin kasi nagagawa kapag marunong ka mag-retouch.
Oo.
Di ba?
Especially
lalo na sa iyo. Oh.
Especially in terms of kunyari, there's a product na you really have to retouch it. Hindi mo na pwedeng balikan yung produkto dahil kung pagkain siya. Di ba? So, yun.
Yes, oo. Sobrang importante talaga na matuto mag-retouch.
Okay, and on that note, thanks Kim. Let's try to bring back all our guests. Again, we still have Miss Harvey Chua, Mr. Allan Mendez, and Kim Diaz. Hold on. Let me unmute Miss Harvey. Ayan. So everyone,
Thank you.
Your question as a wrap up, what do you hope to achieve in your career or business? And maybe you have projects that you're looking forward to in doing. Maybe you can begin with Miss Harvey. Go ahead.
Me, what am I looking forward to? I'm 74 and I'm looking forward to finally retiring. I wanted to retire before I turned 50, but my husband said, you cannot retire. I said, why not? Because we work together and I want to work till my last dying day, which he did. And so I'm still here and I know that our people are capable because our team has been working together for many years. So I look forward to real retirement so I can write the stories that I shared with you tonight, and there's more stories in my heart that my brains cannot keep because of my old age and my Parkinson's. So I hope to be writing and sharing sharing whatever can be helpful to other photographers, and not just photographers. We have our advocacy for special children. We we have many projects where we just capture their bonding moments with their families, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful kind of advocacy. So I hope to do that. I hope to share whatever I know about the business with other photographers, those who are just starting, especially. And it's free. And if you want to organize a seminar, well, I still can do it. I'll do it with you.
Wow. Thank you, Miss Harvey, and we appreciate you working on the blog that you have, and we hope the viewers would visit that. It's really a good insight too, especially when you're starting your business. Sir Allan, your comment on that. What do you have? What do you plan to achieve in the coming months, years, or maybe after the pandemic? Go ahead.
First of all, I'm gonna do everything I can to survive this pandemic. That's the I read a quote that's the most important thing to do right now, to do the best we can to stay healthy and strong and to survive this. And also, I'm looking into transitioning to the wine and beverage industry. I it's a pretty strong industry. It survived the Great Depression, and it survived the pandemic. They're really strong right now. And most important part is, I love shooting bottles. I love shooting reflective objects, and bottle is that object. And wine, liquor, and beer. But I still wanted to keep shooting coffee. So that's my goal for 2021. Hopefully when this is all over, I can start marketing, learn more about the business, and learn how to market. I
Great.
think those are very, very important.
And by the way, Sir Harold Ross is still watching us tonight. And Kim, finally, your comment to that. What do you plan to achieve? What do you plan to look, or what do you look forward to in the coming days, months, or after the pandemic? Go ahead.
I look forward to more clients, to more big brand names kasi based sa mga portfolio na ginagawa ko, yung mga portfolio na ginagawa ko, yun yung mga clients na I want to work with. I want to work with like mga big brands, like mga Tiffany, mga ganon. So, yun, sana matapos na itong pandemic so we can get back to normal. Pero sobrang thankful pa din ako kasi kahit paano, buhay pa rin yung business, dahil pa rin mga pumapasok ng mga projects. Hindi lang ako nag-accept ng mga projects ngayon na mga sa labas, kailangan mong dito sa location nila. So yung safety pa rin ng family, pati yung safety natin, kailangan number one priority pa rin yun. Kaya sana matapos ng COVID, umubot na tayo lahat.
Okay. And yun, again, thank you. We actually have just one call from an audience or a viewer. Let's try to pull him up on screen. Hello?
Hello.
Sir, yeah, go ahead. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Leandro Baltazar. They call me Kuya Palos. Okay, and yes. And I have a question for Mr. Kim Diaz ng Sharpbox. Yes, so some people could only recognize your success and doesn't really care about your struggles. What were some of your unforgettable struggles that actually helped you grow as a professional photographer?
Go ahead, Kim.
Isa sa mga unforgettable struggles ko is one time I had a client na meron silang photos na hindi nagustuhan. So what I had to do is redo the shoot kahit na ako na mag-shoulder ng mga expense na babayaran para lang ma-satisfy yung client sa mga photos na din nila na gustuhan. Nagkaroon kasi ng parang misunderstanding dun sa part namin na may mga hindi na clear sa contract na dapat lahat ng mga scope of work kailangan naka-detail lagi sa contract. So, after that, natuto na ako sa mga next shoot na ginawa ako, lahat na naka-detail na lahat ng scope of work. Detail ko na para clear on both ends. Ayan. Pero at the end of the day, naging happy pa rin yung client kasi ginawa ko pa rin yung gusto niya. Pero tapos sa mga next na mga project namin, na-appreciate niya na mas inuna ko yung satisfaction ng client kaysa dun sa money.
Great. And Sir Leandro, are you good with
Yes.
that?
Yes,
Any other
I'm good.
questions for our other guests?
Thank you, sir.
Yan. Okay. So, well, the next question would be for Sir Allan and Miss Chua. Okay. So, if you could bring one camera with you, what will it be? Yan.
Go ahead. Sir Allan, maybe we can begin with you.
One camera. I haven't tried a full frame camera yet. I know it's not all about the camera, but it's always been a dream of mine. I've always been wanted to buy a full frame, but I just need to justify my purchase. I have to be a full-time professional photographer for me to buy one. I stick with my Nikon D7200 for now, but if I have a D850, I'll probably take the D850 with me.
Okay. And Sir Leandro, maybe you have another question for Miss Harvey because she's more into the business. Go ahead.
Oh, I see. So, for us, yung mga nagsisimula pa lang sa industriya ng photography, sa business, ano po ba yung mga basic steps sa mga beginners po na nag-aspire na maging successful din po sa larangan ng photography or commercial photography?
As a photographer or on the business side?
On the business
side?
Yes.
Well, like I said earlier, you have to know numbers. You have to understand pricing. What is it based on? It's not just a day rate. You have to match your price with your skills. You have to match it with the requirements. You have to match it with the usage. Is it for international use? Is it for local use? You have to match it also with the time that is going to be used, the photograph and the ad or whatever materials are going to be produced. Is it just going to be a one-time ad or is it a book? So there are many factors to consider. I have a whole slide presentation, AVP. I keep saying slide presentation, that's from the old days, on what you have to consider. You have to consider what assistance you need, because if it's a complicated shoot, you need more people, you need more space. So all of these are considered, and that's why I'm not for day rates. That especially a day rate that does not specify what will be photographed, because it's not fair to the photographer and it's not fair to the client to just have one price fits all. I don't think that will do, because photography is very customized work. So you have to customize your cost also according to the expectations, according to the deliverables. Are you being asked to deliver only one hard drive, or are you going to give one for each person involved with the project? That could happen too. So it requires a full understanding of what you are expected to do, what you're expected to deliver. And like I said, when you've come up with your cost estimate, it's not enough that you submit a cost estimate, add a cover letter that will indicate the advantages of working with you. Why are you the right photographer for this job? Why are you the right studio for this job? You have to sell. You have to sell yourself, your services, your creativity. And it's not enough for the numbers, because if you depend on numbers to win you the job, then you'll go for the lowest number, and that's not good for you. That's not good for the industry. That's not good for anybody.
Hey, very well said from Miss Harvey. Sir Leandro, thank you for calling in.
Maraming salamat.
We appreciate your time. And
Thank
again,
you.
with our guests, we appreciate your time being with us. Just to end, let me just show up. Earlier, we actually asked you, our viewers, we asked you about how you think commercial photography would be after the pandemic. Will it change, or will it revert back to the normal? Actually, you can see it up on the polls here. Most of the people actually agree with Miss Harvey. They said, hold on, let me just refresh. Wow, lots of numbers. We have 29 votes saying they agree that yes, there will be lots of different changes after this pandemic. And again, on that note, we'd like to thank all our viewers and our guests for tonight. We have again Miss Harvey Chua, Sir Allan Mendez, and Mr. Kim Diaz with us tonight. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Miss Harvey, Sir Allan, and
Thank you
Kim.
very much.
Thank you everyone. Good evening, goodbye. And again, this has been Born in Film on Air. My name is Franz. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, and this will also be on Spotify tomorrow. Just search for Film Factor Podcast, and we will have actually a replay of this for those who weren't able to catch us. We will again be doing another live stream of a replay of this at 7 p.m. Manila time, and that will be simulcast on YouTube. Again, thank you everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a little gift for Allan. Allan, I have a little gift for you. It's a book of Philippine wines.
I'm having a great gathering of motion picture engineers. Take what you see and share it with others. Don't be afraid. Get out and shoot some film. I think automation. Hindi a catalyst.